Welcome, everyone. Let's go ahead and call this Pompano Beach City Commission meeting to order on January 28th, 2025. If I could ask everyone to please silence your cell phone or put them on vibrate during the meeting so we don't get disturbed. So please put your cell phones on silent or vibrate. Appreciate that. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins.
Here.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Vice Mayor Fournier.
Here.
Mayor Harton.
Here. All right. This evening, unfortunately, Pastor Sharon Stone-Walker, she is at home in bed with the flu. So, but please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, Father, give us wisdom to consider the items on tonight's agenda for the residents of our city. Allow us to do your bidding as we consider all items for our residents. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. All right. And let's see. I think I heard somebody's cell phone out there too. Okay. Very good. Can I get a motion approving the regular City Commission meeting minutes of January 14th, 2025?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Very good. On our agenda this evening, the only change is we will be postponing the proclamation that was to be read tonight for Black History Month. We're postponing the reading of the proclamation until the February 11th meeting. So just make a note of that. Any other changes on our agenda, Mr. Harrison?
No, sir.
Very good. Can I get a motion approving the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. That takes us up to our consent agenda discussion. No items on the consent agenda were pulled, so all items on the consent agenda are eligible for discussion during audience to be heard. Very good. That takes us up to special presentation. We indeed have a very special presentation tonight. I think Mr. Mark Boudreau is here. He is going to, yes, there he is. Mark Boudreau, our Recreation Director, will recognize Leonidas Galarza, Coach PJ, and the 8U Pompano Eagles for their first American Youth Football League Super Bowl championship.
Go Eagles!
Yeah, that's it. Woo-hoo! You got the floor, Mr. Boudreau.
All right, thank you, sir. So the 2024 Pompano Eagles 8U team, coached by Leonidas Galzarta, Coach PJ, had an outstanding regular season, finishing with a record of 9-1. They went on from the regular season success to the playoffs to win the American Youth Football League, the AYFL, Super Bowl championship on November 16th, 2024. After becoming the AYFL champs, they were invited to represent Pompano at the Rank Up Championship tournament, where they went on and did what they did best, and they won yet again. As the AYFL and Rank Up champions, the team traveled to New Orleans, where they became the Power State All-American National champions. Coach PJ and his staff have seen these players become more than just teammates, but family, both on and off the field. So we'd like to bring them up. Coach PJ has declined to provide any comments. He's a little bashful after all his successes. But come on up, guys. And
Come on up.
this is what it's all about.
Woo-hoo!
Let's go,
Come
Pompano
on,
Eagles.
guys.
Come on, Coach. Come on, man.
Yes, great job. All right, here we go.
If we can get a team photo with the entire commission, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Commissioners, shall we gather closer in the middle here? I'm sure somebody's going to have to. They're going to have to tighten up there too. Let's let them all get.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles! Yeah.
I work green for them. Bring up a little bit closer this way.
Yeah, you need to tighten up from the outside. Bring,
Stand in front of the other. They're gonna have this.
still. All right, parents, do your thing.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, boys. Say go Eagles.
All right, thanks, guys. Congratulations. Wonderful season.
Once again, great job, Eagles. Great job, guys. Another big hand. Yeah. So let's see. That's one now. So you're going for a three-peat. Is that it, guys? All right. Thank you for all you guys do. Keep up the good work. Yeah. Woo-hoo! Yeah, that's a great way to start the meeting. Really is. Great job, guys. Yeah, I expect that's probably the best part of our meeting. All right. Thank you so much for that. That was great. Thank you, Mr. Boudreau, and thank you for the entire Parks and Rec staff and everybody who has a hand in that, and of course the kids and the coaches. That's what it's all about. Very good. That takes us up to audience to be heard. Do we have anyone signed up for audience to be heard, Mr. Alfred?
Yes, we do, Mayor. We have 13 speakers.
13. Well, we'll go through the first half hour, but let's move through it.
Okay. First speaker, David Vandemos, followed by Dennis McDaniel, followed by Dwayne Rivera, followed by Jackie Moreland.
Very good. Please come forward. Just name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
David Vandemos, 432 Northeast 4th Street. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioner, Mr. Harrison, Mr. Bergman. I'm going to bring up an issue that has already been brought up before, but there's been some confusion about it pertaining to the McNabb House. I saw the issues that came up, the rumors in the Pelican, all over social media pertaining to the title issue on the house. I went to the meeting last week. They threw out a timeline of 2027 as completion. That's pretty aggressive if we don't hit any bumps at all. They're just in planning now. The young lady with the CRA, she got up and spoke, and she said she wanted to put it to rest, the issues and the question to whether you actually have title to the property or not. And her answer was, to address that, was, we have title policy. She didn't say we have clear title, she said we have a title policy. You're in real estate, you're in real estate, you're in real estate. A lot of people up here are in real estate, we know title policy. It's an insurance policy predicated on a duration of time. So it doesn't give an insurance if it's outside of that timeline. So my question is, can you tell the people listening tonight what the policy is, the timeline on that policy, when it begins? Was it when the Chamber of Commerce sold the property to the city and sold it back, or does it go all the way back to when the property was originally granted to the city from the family? Do we know that?
Mr. Vandemos, I don't have that information. I know the CRA, you can get with the CRA folks and they can fill you in as far as all the documentation that we've got and everything else.
Okay. At a previous meeting, I'm going to guess it was around last June or July, the issue came out here in commission, and Mr. Bergman said that he was going to have to file a suit for quiet title on the property. Okay. My question is, has that suit been filed? Is it necessary to continue to file it, and where are we at with that process?
Mr. Berman, I don't.
We have not filed a suit as of now. I didn't say we're going to have to. We might have to. We're trying to do everything we can to avoid litigating against starting litigation that would involve our residents and trying to resolve this in an amicable manner. I have not received an update in the last couple of weeks, but I can get that information for you.
Okay.
But
Okay,
they're
that's great.
still trying to resolve the issues. We don't want to litigate this.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
that's the
no,
ultimate, at some point, we present the evidence to the court, and the court makes a decision if we have to go that route.
That's just
wanna
going to
do
drag things out. That'll just drag things out. We don't need that. Everybody's excited to get that thing done. We've been waiting, what, 4 or 5 years now? And now we're going to wait another 2. We don't need any more speed bumps trying to get to it. So that was my question. Can I find out what the policy is? I've had enough people asking me. Why they're asking me, I don't know, but they are.
Just give the city manager's office a call, and he can put you in touch with the right folks at the CRA to give you all that information. Absolutely. All right?
I'd like to put it to bed.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Next speaker?
Dennis McDonald, followed by Dwayne Rivera.
Good evening, Mr. McDonald. Good seeing you, sir.
Evening, everybody. Dennis MacDonald, 1401 North Riverside Drive here in Pompano Beach. I've been a resident of Pompano Beach since 2005. I'm also the artist responsible for the Okinawa and the Lady Luck Shipwreck Park and City of Pompano projects. And I just want to tell you that working with the city on that and with Shipwreck Park and seeing the success of those projects just filled me up with a sense of civic pride. And I'm carrying that forth as in part of this discussion tonight. I'm also the president of the Waterbury Condominium, and it's important to know that the sense I have about the city of Pompano and the good feeling about the city is I'm not alone in that, and it's shared by a lot of the city residents, and certainly in my community. I attended the downtown workshop last year, the downtown project workshop last year, and more recently the McNabb Botanical at the CRA presentation last week. I'm supportive of both projects. I recognize that projects of this scope require developmental skill, but more importantly, patience, okay? I was involved in many large-scale, complex projects as I owned a company that built theme parks and museums worldwide. We provided much of the themed environments and sculptural elements for Universal Studios Islands of Adventure. I was the first contractor in, last contractor out, and much of this work, original work, was drawn on the back of cocktail napkins, okay? 4 years later, we're still passing back and forth cocktail napkins as we resolved all the final loose ends on the project. My point being that these projects are immensely complex and require a lot of creativity and a lot of soulfulness, a lot of patience. I've seen a lot of growth in the city in the last 20 years that I've been here. I moan and groan every time I get caught in traffic, and I hate looking for parking. And every time a new condominium project gets built on the coast, I live on the intercoastal, and I have a view of the ocean. I run out with a cutout of the condominium to see what the ocean that I'm not going to see is going to look like, okay? But I understand this is all part of progress. It's all part of making the city better. My property values are increasing, and if somebody were to ask me if I thought Pompano was a good investment, I'd say, heck yeah. I love the idea of the botanical garden. It's not fully developed, and it presents a lot of challenges. I also have heard that we could settle for another park, but why do we want to do that? Just pass on an opportunity for something really special. The downtown project is ambitious, and I imagine to some, somewhat overwhelming. It's also transformative. It has the potential to completely remake the area and our city. It could be iconic. So to everybody, I'm just asking you, please keep an open mind, remain patient, and let's get it all done. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Next speaker. Just name and address for the record.
Hi, Dwayne Rivera, 1270 Southeast 7th Avenue. Hello to everyone on the board and all the audience members. I'm here because back in 1969, my mom and dad were married. They had their honeymoon here in Florida. They went back up north, east to New York to work and make money and have children and grandchildren. Fast forward to 50 years later, my parents are now retired. They came back to Florida. to have their second honeymoon. My mom, 92, and my dad, 81. Unfortunately for them, I brought them out here. They purchased a house with the money that they sold their house from back up north, and surprised with a big tax bill. The previous owner was paying $4,900 a year, and they are paying close to $20,000 a year. I'm here based on the sewer proposal, the increase. We're not strangers of paying taxes, and we're okay with that. But when it comes to any other extra stuff that they have to pay, we feel like all the new residents, out-of-state residents that didn't have portability, paying hundreds of thousands of dollars extra into the taxes for Pompano Beach to improve and to do other things. The only consideration I ask for you and everyone here that's going to vote on the sewer, please take into consideration some of the elderly people that have come out here and did not have portability, which are paying extra hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes towards Pompano Beach. If it's possible, please don't raise the sewer costs. It's just one extra thing my mom has to worry about on a fixed income. The almost $18,000 a year that she has to pay in taxes is taking up all her Social Security and her pension. So one extra thing that she has to worry about. I would rather her, like she told me when I called her to say, hey, Ma, how you doing out there? And she says to me, well, 90 is the new 40. I watch her on the cameras, with my dad, and I'm very happy for them. Just one less thing to worry about. Please reconsider that increase.
Very good. Thank you, sir. That item is on our agenda, so I let you speak because of the taxes and all that, but that item is on our agenda, so if you want to speak on it, it will be coming up later.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Very good. Next speaker.
Jackie Moreland, followed by Tondra King, followed by Carlene Duncan.
Good evening. Jackie Moreland, 1526 Northwest 7th Lane in Pompano Beach. Three things that I want to articulate clearly and quickly so I don't use up all my time. I want to say thank you to City Manager Mr. Harrison. We did our ride-along, and we looked at 6 different properties for the possibilities of the Braggs Criswell substation, and I look forward to you getting me back information on those ones that were not a part of the CRA or a part of the city, the prices of those and the information that you said that you would get back to me, and we'll discuss that further. But I appreciate the ride-along. Was wonderful. We looked at some great properties and possibilities, and I communicated that with Commissioner Perkins. And I just want to also know in that same vein, what are the next steps moving forward towards the construction of the Braggs Criswell substation? Secondly, my second concern, I would like to know, as a citizen and as an African American, I guess it hits me a little differently. Whose decision was it to cancel the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. March and Parade, and why? Schools and organizations put in a great deal of work and preparation for Dr. King's March and Parade, and the celebration in itself. I know we had the celebration in the gym, and despite all of the rain, people showed up, and it was only for it to be canceled at the 9th hour at the last minute. And there were people that had been there waiting since 7:30 that morning. There were no large puddles along the way of the route, and there was no thundering or lightning. And so I'm just wanting to know, why was it canceled and who canceled it? And lastly, it was also stated by certain persons on this dais that the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. March and Parade was too long, or is too long, and I just asked how so? And too long for whom? And I don't think it's too long for the citizens in District 4, District 5, who does a lot of the planning, and there are other districts that are involved. But I think sometimes we need to mind our business and let the community that is putting on these programs mind the business that are putting on the program, and let them share their concerns before, some things are said, or just ask those persons that are on that committee those questions. Yuletide parade is long, and it's a parade as well. So I just wanted to know, like, who is it too long for and why? Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Appreciate your comments. Next speaker.
Tundra King, Pompano Beach. I have a couple concerns. I attended the meeting the other night as it relates to McNabb and the Botanical Garden, and it was very beautiful from the presentation that I saw. I'm just concerned that I know we are going to do things in the city that's for revenue as it relates to tourism. I understand that part of it, but I just want us perhaps to revisit our priorities. I rarely hear you all mention what's going on in our current schools, especially those schools that are impacted in District 4 and 5. A lot of those schools are in really poor condition. They've been on many lists to be closed or repurposed. It's just a fancy name for closing. And I don't hear that spoken of enough. So are our children not a priority? We just said that they were. We just clapped and said that the Eagles are a priority, but that's not consistent with what I see at these school board meetings. There's no representation. I went to a meeting in Coconut Creek, I think it was. They had their mayor there, they had 2 or 3 commissioners there, and I was so impressed by that because it spoke to me that this is a place that really truly cares about our kids. So instead of us trying to purchase the land, I would love to see that same energy that I saw the other night about the botanical gardens, which most of the people in my community can't even afford to even go there to the restaurants. I love to see that same energy as it relates to crime being addressed in our community and as it relates to our school system. Those schools are still on the list to perhaps be closed. And no one really on the dais, I haven't heard a lot of talk or a lot of chatter about how the dais is going to help to save our schools and to put pressure on the city, on the county, to make sure that our schools are up to par and the services are up to par. Do we know the test scores, the makeup of the people that live in that community? So our schools really need a lot of help in District 4 and 5, and I think that help should come by way of the people that we represented to be our voice. So that's something I hope we would really, really take a good look at, and to maybe divert our energy into not just all the new, pretty, shiny projects, but some things that we've spoke on in the past. I know I want to touch on this last thing really quickly, which is the unhoused. I saw a lot of disturbing things on the news today about how a lot of our programs are going to be cut, and I think it's going to be a huge cut as it relates to the services that go to many of the people that are unhoused. So yes, instead of going after these things for tourism, perhaps we need to revisit our budget to look at some of these things where people are truly going to be homeless in the very near future. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. King. Appreciate your comments. Commissioner Perkins.
Yeah, I'm glad that she brought up the issue about the schools. So in the month of March, I will be hosting the 2nd annual meeting with some of the principals in the city of Pompano Beach to continue to work with the community and the stakeholders. So I will keep everybody informed when we're meeting with those principals, so that when they give their presentation as to what is needed from the community and from the stakeholders, we can kind of be informed as to what they need for their schools.
Very good. Thank you for that. Vice Mayor?
I appreciate your comments, Tundra, and I agree with you. I also am routinely in touch with our principals. Today there is an issue. So when you talk about District 4 and 5, add District 3 to that list, because there are some schools in District 3 also that are need attention. I am also routinely in touch with our school board members, and as soon as they reconsidered the school closures and passed that, they received a call from me to ask if there are any Pompano schools on that list, and I was told no, as of now. So just know that some of us are actively in dialogues with school board members and principals, trying to work on all these issues, that we can do whatever we can to help.
Very good. Next speaker.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Carlene Duncan. Everybody know me as Miss Smoke. 1851 Northwest 15th Street, Pompano Beach, Florida. I want to give the Commissioner, Darlene, Come get your card. Right there. Yeah, right behind. I want to thank y'all for donating to Faith Florida. Faith, Hope, and Love Incorporation. I want to thank y'all so much. Now, I want to talk about the MLK. People was out there waiting for the parade, just like the young lady say. Someone was out there at 7:30. I came at 8:15. When I woke up, it was raining at 5:30. I come in the rain. I loaded my trailer up. I come in the rain. I went down Martin Luther King with my trailer. It was raining. People was out there in the rain waiting for the parade. People was in the streets waiting for the parade. Now, January the 20th, Martin Luther King Day, BSO come by my trailer. I was standing right there. He asked the young lady that was walking what time the parade start. She replied, it started at 9 o'clock. He looked at his watch and he said, it's 10 after 9. So he turned around on his motorcycle and went back to the church. Talked to Greg Harrison, Beverly Perkins was there, Rex was there. I don't know whether you was there, Mr. Ellison, or not. He told the people, he told Greg them that it was raining and potholes was in the road. It was no potholes in the road. So it didn't come from Beverly. It came from.
Thank you.
No.
Just
Yeah.
finish up real quick.
Yeah. It came from Aaron Hall, that's the president of Martin Luther King Parade. And BSO, it came from him.
Very good.
So, like I say, I'm not done.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. Thank you, Ms. Duncan. I'm going to have to cut you off there.
She got 3 minutes.
No, we don't, no, there's no sharing of time. I'm sorry,
It's a
Ms. Duncan.
sharing of
Okay.
time.
No, thank you. I appreciate you.
I'm not done.
Yes, Ms. Duncan, I'm going to
It's
have to.
not,
Ms. Duncan, I'm going to have to ask you.
Beverly Perkins didn't stop the parade.
Ms.
And we
Duncan,
wanna
I'm going to ask you
the
once again.
Parade,
Ms.
can it
Duncan,
go on this
is your third
17th.
warning. I don't want to go here.
17th.
Ms. Duncan, you are out of order. I'm going to ask you.
No, it's not out of order.
Who's here from BSO?
I don't care about BSO. We're going to start the
BSO.
parade to 17.
Ms. Duncan, I'm asking you, please. I don't want to do
Don't put
this.
your hands on me.
Okay.
Don't put your hands on me.
Thank you, and I'm sorry we had that. Next speaker, Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, she used most of her time giving out the thank yous, so I think you should have allowed her at least a minute more, at least 1 minute, because she was passing out the thank you to the two people there and the one in the audience. So I think you need to reconsider and give her at least 1 minute.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next speaker.
Wayne Horain, followed by Hunter Horain, followed by Mike Seversky.
While I stand, I give honor to all the commissioners in their respectable places. Give honor to the mayor. Give honor to city manager Harrison, Smith, everyone. Beverly Perkins. I want to give honor to Ms. Smith. Everyone, Allison, everyone. I just want to say, Martin Luther King is a time that we, in our community, we look forward to celebrating, Mayor. And I just want to say, in 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated. He was a man of peace. He stood for all people. He was a man he was arrested. And he marched through the rain, even when it was cold. And I want us to take in mind that we never had a black holiday for no one in America. Never. And we got civil rights leaders that pushed to get that day. Now, it bothers me in the city of Pompano on that day, whenever we have someone as the president getting inaugurated, that we, the city of Pompano, decide to stop that day. A day, because King, he never stopped. And if it wasn't for King marching, we wouldn't be able to go to a bathroom or eat in the same restaurants. But he stood for justice, not for one people, for all people. He was a man of peace, and you know, it vexed my spirit when I sit around and I look and I say, you know, since I've been in Pompano, I done marched in many parades, but it bothers me when I hear that the city of Pompano stopped the parade. For what? I understand we got weathers and stuff, but it wasn't that bad that we couldn't have carried through with it. Let us keep in mind that what Martin Luther King stood for, and let us continue to celebrate. That's a day that was set aside for all of us. It was a national federal holiday for all of us to represent him and to celebrate his life for what he did for us. A man of peace. If we don't stand for something, we will fall for anything. And I'm here to stand that we are here because of what he did. I'm standing because why? He gave his life for us to have freedom and for us to celebrate that day. And I want us to continue to celebrate Martin Luther King Day in the city of Pompano, whether hell or high water, rain, sleet, or snow. Let this be the last time that the city of Pompano cancel that day. Let us remember Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Well said, well said.
Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Hunter Ohanian, and I live at 401 North Riverside Drive in Pompano Beach, Unit 508. I've lived there for 25 years. I sent you all a letter today via email. I'm just going to read you part of it today. I want to offer some observations and recommendations regarding the development, primarily residential, and the Barrier Island portion of Pompano Beach. In particular, I am addressing all of the land east of the Intercoastal Waterway, south of the Hillsborough Inlet, and north of the border with Lauderdale by the Sea. As you know, in 2010, Pompano Beach launched an ambitious plan to redevelop the area around the fishing pier. Most of the activities envisioned by the city's plan have been realized, and the beach area transformation has been remarkable. Because of this development, however, real estate developers have come in to exploit this opportunity. In nearly every instance, the developers have no long-term relationship with the location. They only seek to build high-end units and then realize sizable financial gains. At the same time, they have eliminated existing community assets such as open space, affordable housing, mid-century architecture, water views, and have created a significant negative impact on those who continue to reside in the area. Given this, I asked the city to consider a 90-day moratorium, or longer if necessary, on the issuance of new building permits for projects over a specific size until a study can be performed that calculates the net number of additional bedrooms added, increases in traffic on the Atlantic Avenue and 14th Street bridges, and other indicators. An analysis should be performed to evaluate the impact of these variables on the existing human and structural infrastructure. Guidelines regarding future growth should then be established. Simultaneously, the city should consider updating the ordinances regarding new building projects and community engagement about new specific developments. These measures could be implemented immediately and should apply to the entire city. These improvements could include mandatory notice to abutters of large projects. In our situation on Riverside Drive, we only received notice because the developer initially asked for a variance. You have the rest of my comments in the letter, which is all in your inbox. In conclusion, there are simple things the city can do to meet the residents' needs as a result of all of this new construction. Temporarily halt new projects until an assessment is made and create a system which give the residents better notice and a greater voice in the process. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. Next speaker.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Fasick.
Hunter, Mr. Hanian, I just wanted to say thank you for your email. I appreciate it. I know that it has been a concern of many residents, and I want to thank you for taking the time to articulate your thoughts, and I would also like to make sure that you and everybody else who is concerned with this or type of development, that we are having a meeting tomorrow, and that meeting tomorrow will be to address some of the overlay districts and some of the requirements as such. It's a workshop, and if you are free, it is at 2 p.m. tomorrow, and you are welcome to attend. So thank you very much.
Very good. Next speaker.
Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest 5th Avenue in Pompano. People brought up a lot of good points today. I'm just going to touch on what was brought up a few weeks ago about the contracts. All three of the girls were correct on the contracts, but you're not correct on one thing. These contracts from 0 on up need to be looked at. Because what you girls don't know is some of the contracts that are handed out at incredibly escalated prices are the low-lying contracts. One of them is over there next to Tiffany Gardens, because that I actually did a records request on, because I didn't even believe them. People will actually tell me how much they're getting paid on this. And some of the major companies that we deal with, they actually laugh. They laugh about the contracts they get. They go, we hand out campaign donations and we get whatever the heck we want. Do they ever name you or you? Never. They don't say that. But it was $6,500, I remember, a couple years ago, to paint the trim at the pavilion next to where there's consideration on the high-rise that supposedly is going to go on 16th Street. And you guys have thought about possibly reconfiguring that area, that little park. That's been brought up before. And according to you and everybody, that's not going to get touched, I believe. But the point is, $6,500, all they did was paint the trim in the bathroom. So if you were to actually go back and look at old contracts, how are you actually going to know what they really did? And my point is, some of these ordeals that are $6,000, $10,000, $15,000, that's where you need to really look at, because that's where a lot of the fishy stuff is going on. That's what really needs to be looked at. We've had other ones that go on, of course, that are, what's his name? Stiglia, $191,000. Remember that one? And then the contract went on the next year. And you paid him for that, and that never even came in front of the commission. So that was a complete joke, what we were paying him. I don't know if he's still doing it, but the contracts need to be looked at from 0 all the way up. That's, like I said, the small ones are the ones you really need to look at. That's about it. There's more, but anyway, we'll talk about the McNabb disaster in the future.
Very, very good. Thank you.
Mayor, we reached the 30-minute time allotment for audience to be heard.
Very good. We'll hear the rest at the end of the agenda then.
Understood. Okay.
Good. All right, that takes us up to our consent agenda. Items, can I get a motion approving items 1 through 14?
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you for that. That takes us up to, let's see, our regular agenda. Item number 15 is quasi-judicial in nature. Mr. Berman will discuss the procedures we will use. Mr. Berman?
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone wishing to testify on item number 15 must be sworn in and may be subject to cross-examination by the City Commission or by interested parties. Individuals addressing the City Commission should state his or her name and whether they've been sworn. City staff will make its presentation or introduction first, followed by the applicant or anyone else wishing to testify. Following the concluding remarks of the applicant, the hearing will conclude and the commission will make its consideration. Anyone wishing to testify on item number 15, please stand at this time. Raise your right hand and the city clerk will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence or testimony that you're going to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Very good. Item 15 is a first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 24-foot wide access easement located south of Park Central Boulevard, north of Copans Road, and west of North Andrews Avenue, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Ms. Dolan.
Good evening, Mayor. Jean Dolan, Development Services. This is a request to abandon a 24-foot wide access easement on a parcel located on 200 West Park Central Boulevard, north of Copans and west of North Andrews Avenue. This lot was developed without the use of this access easement that was originally included on a plat in the 1980s. All service providers have submitted letters of no objection to the abandonment. The Planning and Zoning Board unanimously recommended approval at their hearing on December 18th, 2024, and staff recommends approval. Both staff and the applicant are present if you have any questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. Does the applicant wish to make any presentation or here for questions only? Very good. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Delvin King, what are we talking about?
This is item number 15 on our agenda, and I need your address, sir.
Pompano.
I need your address for the record, sir. This is quasi-judicial.
Excuse me?
This is quasi-judicial, so you have to give your address for the record.
Okay, Pompano.
Have you been sworn, sir?
Okay, sworn me in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence or testimony that you're going to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And just before we go any further, Mr. Bourbon, is it acceptable for someone just to say Pompano under quasi-judicial?
Quasi-judicial, if he just says Pompano, then you can take whatever his testimony for whatever value you believe it's worth, if he's not going to tell you where he is, so.
Okay, very good.
Speak.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so.
Item 15.
Excuse me?
On item 15.
No, I got it. I got it. So item 15. So my question is, I have a couple of questions about the MLK parade.
Not germane to this topic, sir.
Oh, it's not? Okay, so you're going to give me my 3 minutes?
You're welcome to give any testimony you'd like on item 15, concerning item 15.
Okay, I'll be back.
Very good. Further input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fessick.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Frenier.
Yes.
Mayor Harton.
Yes, that concludes our quasi-judicial proceedings. Item number 16 is an approval.
Approval to issue purchase orders to Ferguson Enterprises LLC for the as-needed annual purchases of Neptune water meters, parts, and accessories based on Section 32.45 standardization of the City Code of Ordinances.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Randy Brown, Utilities Director. This is our, we're out front, and we're spending our bond money. This is the purchase of the retrofit for the automatic meter reading system. It's a local company, Ferguson is, and it's to go ahead and standardize on Neptune meters, as we have in the past.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record at the podium. No? All right. Okay. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Vice Mayor.
Just wanted to confirm, and I had asked the city this, and I appreciated all the answers, but we had issued the bonds with a list of projects that we're doing, and so this is just us moving forward with one of the projects that we had promised when we issued those bonds, which is a system-wide date to the meters, standardized to the technology that works with our systems best. Okay, thank you.
Very good. Mr. Brown, how long do these meters last?
20 years.
20 years.
Double the length of what we have now.
Gotcha. Okay. Very good. That's great. Further commission discussion, questions? Commissioner Fessig.
I just had one question. Is there some sort of maintenance program for these, or are they warranted in any way? Because it is 20-year.
It has a 20-year
Lifespan.
life, and the beauty about these meters, there's no moving parts on the inside.
Perfect. Thank you.
So they don't wear it out.
Very good. Okay, so 20 years, they might last longer then, if they don't wear out, according to you, right? Very good. Further commission question? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Frenier.
Yes.
Mayor Harton.
Yes. Item 17 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the execution and delivery of a lease purchase agreement between the City of Pompano Beach as lessee and TD Equipment Finance, Inc. as lessor with respect to the acquisition, purchase, financing, and leasing of certain equipment, authorizing the execution and delivery of documents required in connection therewith, and authorizing all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transaction contemplated by this resolution, provided for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Ms. Furtado.
Good evening, Mayor Commissioners. Allison Furtado, Finance Director. The Finance Department was requested to seek financing for the acquisition of certain equipment for several departments that were approved in the 2024-2025 capital outlay budget. After reviewing several bank proposals, it was determined that TD Bank provided the best terms to finance the acquisition of the capital items over a 5-year term with a lock interest rate of 3.839%. Therefore, the city is requesting your approval to proceed with TD Bank to finance the equipment lease agreement for a closing date of February 4th, 2025. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Commissioner Perkins?
Yeah, thank you for that information earlier about this particular item. As I was looking in the summary, it says it has been determined that this is in the best interest of the city. Do we know who made this decision to say it has been determined? Who is that? Is that staff or the city manager or?
It's management.
Management?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any backup to support that? The discussion or anything? How you?
When we did the proposal, when we went out for proposal, I spoke with my ACM regarding the best options that was given, the RFP summary, and stipulate the best quote that was provided, which was provided in the backup as well.
Okay. Is there?
For us to make that decision based off on the interest rate.
Okay. Is there an emergency for this particular purchase agreement?
Well,
let me just say this. The reason I ask that is because normally I would think something like this would be in the budget.
It is in the budget.
Okay, but why are we bringing it forth now?
Okay, so it's in the budget, requested in the budget for this capital outlay. It was included in the 5-year capital outlay budget, and what we're doing right now is actually going out for financing for these capital items. So it was in the 2025 capital budget.
Okay. Budget time. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's it for now there.
Very good. Further, Vice Mayor?
Thank you. So maybe to Commissioner Perkins' point first, in our budget session, we spent a lot of time going over the CIP and we talk about the budget items, but we never really talk about this list. And it
was included in the CIP.
It's on page 61 here of the book. I don't see it in the CIP plan in here, but I'm just saying, I think we should, going forward, make sure that we kind of tick off these items and go through this in our budget session, because I know I asked at the budget hearing, I asked, are there any other big capital projects for public safety? And the answer was no, but there are things in here that are pretty large. But my real question is, when I read this resolution and it says authorizing all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transactions contemplated by this resolution, what does that mean for the process of actually acquiring some of these items? Because some of them are low dollar amounts, but there's bucket trucks and street sweepers and rescues that are big ticket items. So does this mean that we are authorizing you to issue RFPs or bids for all the items in here?
Yes, I just go out for the financing. The different departments will go out to do their RFP request for the bids to purchase these items.
So they do that after we approve the financing?
Financing, correct.
Okay, so then?
These are just their request and the dollar value of what their items will cost.
Just trying to understand the process. So if we approve this, then each department for these items will
still go through the purchasing process.
Okay, and then for the larger items, or which of these will they come back to us and have another? We'll have another opportunity to look at the bids. Like, let's just say, I don't know, there's the first one, like a fire engine here. Will we see bids for that, and then we will approve that based on what comes back?
That would be a question for the department, but it should be yes.
So the answer is yes, that we will then get bids
that
for all
should
these.
be-
What is so can we get that answered though? What is the dollar threshold that these things will come back to us where we'll have a chance? Because I'm assuming we're not going to approve, I don't know, a landscape trailer because it doesn't cost that much, but a street sweeper that costs $300,000, we should see the bids and see what comes back.
Is there anybody here from procurement, purchasing? Who can address that?
Mark.
Who can?
So,
like I said, I'm just trying to understand the process, because when it says that we're authorizing all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transactions contemplated by this resolution, does that mean we're authorizing this $9 million to just go be spent, or these items come back to us after an RFP?
it should, just like what we did with the bond for the waste management when we approved the financing, and then we went out for a bid for those Neptune, and it came back to you because it was a big ticket item. That's the process.
Okay, so we will expect to see RFPs put together for these items soon, but not, okay. And Mr. Berman, can you just clarify for sure that how I'm reading this, that we're
Commissioner,
not?
that's not my understanding. My understanding is that once the financing is approved, the departments will go out and properly procure or make these, for these purchases at the best possible prices, but maybe the purchasing director can lend a little more information as to how these items are procured. But I don't think these are all coming back to you. I don't recall these.
And I wouldn't expect all of them to, but I would expect some of the larger ones, I guess.
Right, that's
what I'm
standard
asking.
operating procedures.
But Mr. Berman said it's not.
Yeah, why don't we get purchasing procurement up here?
Okay.
Since we're dealing with those issues.
That's perfect.
'Cause, yeah, we appreciate your expertise in finance, but let's
I'm saying, yeah.
let's put a different, somebody with a different hat up there. So somebody else who can address these procurement issues. Okay, so I think the question is, what happens with some of these big ticket items? How are they coming back to us? How does this whole process works? And does this verbiage in this in this resolution say that you guys just go out and spend the money? Does it come back to us somehow for some of these items, or what happens?
Thank you for your question, Mary Rivero, Director for Procurement and Contracts. So that's kind of a lot of questions in one. I'm going to try to answer the first one that Vice Mayor Fournier asked. In this particular case, the example that you've given, we would go out and definitely source these big ticket items as our policy states, our ordinance states, anything $200,000 or more must come to the commission for approval. In this case, we've already identified sourcing mechanisms such as piggybacks to purchase some of these assets that are normally purchased by other cities. So we would not necessarily go out to bid, but we would find either a piggyback that is currently in place that has already competitively sourced, for example, a fire truck, and we would then work with that agency to be able to take the prices and then bring that to commission for approval.
Okay, so any of these items over $200,000 will come back to us for approval after you've figured out how you're sourcing it, whether it's through a piggyback or an RFP?
They're supposed to, yes.
Mr. Berman was shaking his head no at me a second ago, so.
I'm not familiar with how they source it. I'm familiar with this contract with the bank.
Okay.
And the bank allows us to, the ordinance permits us to execute the agreements to get these leases, to get the equipment. This equipment, as far as I know, has already been on a list that has already been before the commission, fire equipment and other equipment.
Well, I think it was before us as we always hear, you approved it in the budget, right? So, but this is a huge document, and we expect larger items to come back to us then. So, is there any urgency to this? Can I, if not, I guess I'd like to make a motion to table this right now. I have some questions.
If the item is tabled, I cannot close on February 4th, and then I have to go back out to bid again for financing.
Okay.
So yeah, so there is some urgency.
There is an urgency.
But I mean, it's just can I interrupt? But just, I mean, I'm confused. If we can get procurement back up here, I'm confused. When somebody says it's supposed to, what does that mean? In other words, let's stick with one example that the Vice Mayor brought up. Let's stick with the example of the fire truck, okay? One example. So if we approve this tonight, are we going to see a contract for a fire truck come back before this body for approval for the actual purchase of the fire truck or not?
Yes, you will.
Okay. That's much better than saying it's supposed to.
Well, I said you're supposed to because the only one that I have been working on personally is the fire truck, and we've identified a piggyback. So I know that one's coming to commission.
Very good.
The other ones I haven't seen, but they're supposed to.
Okay.
Hopefully I will see them and they'll come before the commission.
Okay, I appreciate that. It's just that it's supposed to. That leads to, some things out there. But that's very good. Vice Mayor, you go ahead, continue.
That's all I have for right now. I'm a little uncomfortable given the language that this just allows us to go out and source things, and I guess I'm hearing something different from Mr. Berman than I am from procurement. So I have some concerns.
Sure, and I want to see those concerns assuaged. So, Mr. Berman, by the wording that's in this, it says, authorizing all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transactions contemplated. By that, does that overrule what our procurement expert just said, that the fire truck will be coming back before us?
I don't think it overrules it. I think it is consistent with it coming back before you. It allows us to go out and bid for it. It allows us to bring it back before you. It allows it for your consideration. And the language that's there, consistent with all actions necessary, is to enter into these agreements with the bank for this equipment. That's what that means to me, not to purchase the fire truck. This language deals with the actual lease of whatever equipment we do get approved and bring back before you.
Okay, and I get that, but I just want to make sure that everybody is under the same understanding here, because the Vice Mayor is asking, some simple questions. Okay, but it says we can do all this. Can we do all this or not? So apparently we can't do all of this. We can only do some of this, and some needs to come back to the commission. Would that be accurate? Okay, would that be accurate? Well, the procurement said that, yeah, the fire truck's coming back. So, okay, we've gotten it from procurement, the fire truck's coming back. Okay, and and you're saying that this does not take us out of the loop.
This authorizes us to enter into the agreements with the banks for the equipment that we will be purchasing, leasing, then eventually purchasing.
Gotcha.
That's the way I read it.
That's it. It's for, you know, consummation of the financing portion of the, because this is for the financing. This isn't for the purchase. This is for the financing aspect, the lease purchase agreement with the bank, which is at a very favorable rate, which is only locked until February 4th. That's the issue. That's the urgency of the issue. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
The urgency
Commissioner
again.
Perkins, go ahead.
You said the urgency again is what again?
The interest rate, 3.83, it is only locked until February 4th. So if it's not approved by February 4th, we don't know what the interest rate would be, and the interest rates have been inching up in the marketplace. Look, it's simple dollars and cents. I mean, if the commission decides not to approve it, so be it. But there is a certain urgency to this item. That's I know Vice Mayor, she mentioned she might want to table this to get more information, but I'm trying to get as many questions answered as possible to make people comfortable with this so that we can go ahead with the financing. That's what it is. I've got Commissioner Fessick, then I've got Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Smith first? Okay. Commissioner Smith, then Commissioner Fessick.
Can we just add an additional statement to this that says that all purchases over $200,000 will come back to the commission for approval? Can we just add something simple to the wording?
I think that's already in our codes, isn't it?
It doesn't need to be added to this. This is a finance agreement with a bank. This is just approval of the finance agreement.
So there's
That's it's a separate,
elsewhere.
respectfully, it's a separate issue and it's covered.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Fessick.
Okay, bear with me because I am new to this entire process of massive purchasing amounts. So I understand what piggyback is in terms of some contracts, but could you please explain to me how that, and maybe if this is for you, maybe Mr. Berman, could you explain to me how that works with acquisition of certain items?
We let purchasing respond to that question.
Thank you.
In essence, somebody else does the work. Somebody else bids it.
Thank you for your question, Ms. Fessick. So just to give it a brief example on piggyback, because maybe everyone is not familiar with the terminology. In the case of assets or fire trucks, equipment, there are, in this case, Sourcewell is one of the largest GPOs, group purchasing organizations that work government and also private, that they go out and do solicitation. So fire trucks are purchased by probably every city, county in Florida. So in this case, we'll go through a consortium, which is what Sourcewell is, that provides volume discounts based on all the manufacturing of all the fire trucks, let's say in Florida. I understand there's a specific fire truck, and I don't want to get technical because I don't understand the technicalities of them, but I understand that Broward has a specific fire truck that is used. Therefore, there's specific vendors and manufacturers that we use, that we can go to through this agency, if you will, and then we're going to piggyback off their terms and conditions off, you know, the vehicles that they have. We're going to purchase them.
So basically, it's like almost like a bulk discount pricing by ordering things together, by doing it a collective,
It's
a co-op?
leveraging. We're leveraging the volume of all the cities, if you will, that buy these specific trucks. So ultimately, we're getting a better price. We can go to the Department of Management Services for the state of Florida. There's many. I mean, again, every city, probably state, buys these types of vehicles, but there's specific ones I understand for Broward. And then there's specific distributors and manufacturers, of which I am working with currently to try to source this.
Okay. So I sat through the capital improvements meeting prior to being elected, and so it is a very lengthy document, but since you are saying you're currently working on the fire truck, for example, is that something where there's like supporting documentation that we would potentially be able to see what that looks like when it comes, maybe before it comes to the commission? I'm trying to understand what I'm seeing in front of me and just make sure I fully understand what we're saying yes or no to today. I know we need the budgeting, but my
Mayor,
question, sorry.
Excuse me.
Yes.
What you're seeing before you on item 17, you're not buying anything. You're approving the financing for when we do buy something.
Okay.
This is the lease purchase arrangement with a bank to pay for these items so that we won't have to pay cash for all of that $9 million. We're only going to be paying for approximately a third of that on an annual basis in the actual expenditures of the budget. So we've somehow gotten off track here on this agenda item. We're not buying anything with this item. We're simply getting your permission for the lease purchase financing for the equipment.
Okay. So and thank you for that. The question I have is, and this has happened a couple of times for me since sitting here, that we have these things come through to us, and if we do have questions or concerns, there's always seems to be like some emergency behind it, so that we have to hurry up and decide right now instead of if we don't have all the questions. And I don't want us to lose the percentage of a great rate by any means. So with the capital improvements plan, that was done back in July, if I remember correctly. Is that right? The budget, was that?
Workshop?
Sorry.
The workshop, yes.
And and we were on a fiscal year starting in October, right?
Correct.
So I'm just trying to figure out how we got the numbers for all these things. You know, sort of roundabout numbers. Did we guess? Did we get any past purchases? And did we already commit to buying anything?
There's no commitment to buy. Right now, we're just looking for the financing to purchase these items.
Okay.
Based off on department's experience, they have an idea of the cost of these items. So typically, they would probably have gotten quotes to have an idea of what these assets would be.
Okay. I'm done for now. I just want to absorb some of that. Thank you.
Just to kind of follow up on that real briefly, though, there is a listing in the backup of, it's on page, what page is it? It's on page 17 of 23, and this is in the, what's it called, the attachment?
Yeah, I'm on there.
Yeah, lease purchase agreement on page 17 of 23. It has this list of equipment that is being proposed to be purchased under this lease agreement. And all of these items, well, not all the items, because some of them are, I mean, you got $9,500 for, well, I don't know, some things probably not, weren't on the original CIP list, but I mean, they still need to be done. But the stuff, I mean, like a fire truck, of course, that was on the CIP list that we approved as part of our budget. And before it goes on the CIP list, the department has to come up with a figure what it's going to cost. So they've already looked into this stuff, and they figured out pretty much what it's going to cost. And they kind of packaged a bunch of items together and came up with this lease purchase idea, and they went out to bid, and they got the rates that they got from the banks, and so we're here to approve the lease purchase. The CIP items have already previously been approved as part of the budget as far as the dollars. But the purchase hasn't actually been approved. So in the situation of a fire truck, that fire truck procurement still has to go out and then look at the piggyback operation, or if the piggyback doesn't exist, they'd have to go out and actually bid a fire truck and bring that back to us for the actual approval of the purchase, which would still be paid for as part of this lease agreement that we're talking about. So that's,
Yes, you're correct.
I just wanted to kind of wrap it around to the real stuff here. We got a bunch of stuff on this page that they're buying, a global M3 street sweeper, I mean, all kinds of stuff. A Toro, whatever it is, Toro something, I guess it's a, lawnmower of some sort, I don't know. So anyway, I think I've got Commissioner Seegerson, and then I'll come back to Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Could one almost describe this as a locked-in line of credit as we move forward at a certain rate? And some of these things, I don't know, there's a scissor lift for the Bury Center or HVAC for the Skolnick Center, and as we go through the budgeting process, we of course allocate certain funding for each department. And things break. Who knows when your air conditioner is going to go out? So things sometimes get added to the list, but if they can be financed through this, great. I don't know that we would necessarily need to go out for an RFQ to put in an HVAC unit at one of our civic centers. So it's just simply the big things, yeah, they will come back. But I think just, having that revolving line of credit, basically a line of credit to purchase or lease some of these smaller issues that pop up from time to time. Is that correct, basically?
Sure. I mean, it's included here, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Mr. Harrison, with all due respect, I don't think we're off track by asking questions, especially given that we've had a lot of questions about how those procurement changes have impacted the city operations in the last year. We've asked for where all the money is gone, and it's been 2 weeks. I know that we're going to get answers, but we don't have those yet. So if those changes have also impacted these spending thresholds and less things are going to come before us, I want to understand that. So if 200,000 is the limit, and that's what I was asking, where is that limit now, given the changes to procurement that were made that, as you know, I feel misled about still, but what is that number where something comes back before us? Is it 200,000? Is it the $300,000 threshold that was in that procurement ordinance? I think these are legitimate questions that we have the right to ask. So I don't think we are off track by asking them.
Okay.
Excuse me, I wasn't saying you're off track by asking questions. I was just trying to clarify what this agenda item is about. We're not purchasing anything. We're just approving a lease purchase agreement for 3.8% for the items that have already been approved in your September adopted budget.
I understand, and I want to know which ones of these are now going to be coming back to us given the changes to the procurement ordinance. I understand this is a financing mechanism.
Okay, so we've got procurements coming to the microphone. Step aside, Ms. Furtado. Very good.
And I guess my question is, what was it before? Would it have been 75,000 or was it 150?
Okay, so when I mentioned 200, just let me clarify. So 200 is for non-construction items. So in the past, the ordinance prior to the revised one was up to it was actually, we have to make sure I say it correctly, less than $75,000. So anything less than $75,000 would have had to come to commission for approval. Now with the new ordinance, it's less than $200,000. And for construction, with the city manager, the concurrence of the city manager, the city engineer, and myself, the city manager can make a purchase up to or less than $300,000 only for construction. So you will see items that are $200,000 and above, non-construction, and any project construction related item that's $300,000 or more, it will come to commission as well.
Thank you. And I am, as I've expressed here and publicly, and I am uncomfortable with the spending increase that was passed, how it was passed, and what was passed. I still don't have the data that I need to have to understand how that has changed our spending in the last year. And I believe that our 200,000 is out of line when you benchmark with other comparable cities. So this allows a lot of things not to come back to us that would have previously come back to us later for approval. That procurement ordinance does. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Further, Commissioner Segerson?
Yeah, I just also want to state that through all the budgeting process, city staff and these departments have determined these are equipment and these are things that are needed by the city for upkeep. And I don't feel there's anything nefarious about that. We've gone through the budget process. These are items that are needed so that our landscaping guys and our crews can operate as effectively as possible as landscape items throughout the city increase. I don't understand the problem with this, and that whether we're going to go and second guess what the departments say they needed. And for a thing, are we in, saying, do they really need this lawnmower or not? I mean, I don't understand what not approving this would do, or tabling it. I don't know why you would want to second guess our staff as to the equipment and that they need, and to be able to buy it at a good rate on credit. I don't know.
Can I respond?
I don't know I don't understand the problem.
Can I respond?
Okay, very good.
I don't know if you're saying that you think there's something nefarious going on. Oh, you do?
Are you
Is that what I'm asking Commissioner
I have my hand raised.
Fournier
Happy to
to
respond.
No.
try to, if that's what she's implying, I'm just curious as to why she thinks that way.
Okay,
Thank you, Chair.
very good. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Let me explain so maybe you can understand. So I understand this was in the budget and we need all this equipment to operate as a city. I understand that they look at their needs every year and say, okay, we need, I need a mower, we need 2 of these, we need a concrete mixer. I'm not questioning that the city needs any of that. I'm certain to do the great job they do, that they need this equipment. My concern is the change in procurement and that we no longer see these purchases between $75,000 and $200,000. If you recall, Commissioner Moss and I at the time were adamantly opposed to that change, and here's where we're seeing it play out. So this is where the rubber meets the road on that. We will not see many of these items come back to us because we gave a blank check up to $200,000 for products and up to $300,000 for construction to the city, which is out of line with comparable cities. And that is my problem. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. Mayor, if I may?
Good. Nope. Commissioner Seegerson?
Okay. So you're concerned that somehow there will be something amiss when they do purchase these items, and that they wouldn't piggyback. And by the way, the piggyback means there's another city who has already done an RFQ and put out to bid, and we simply just use that city's bidding process so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So we piggyback on their bidding procedure that they've already done. So we don't have to do it. And I think, like anything in any department, if I can save money on a lawnmower and buy it for less, then I actually end up with surplus in my budget and saving money. I don't think it means that we're going to be spending more money than what's already provided for. So again, it just seems like you don't have any trust at all in the process. All right.
Can I respond?
Good. Okay, I've got Vice Mayor. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
So that's a great example. I'm sure a lot of these will be bought through piggybacks, and that's a great way to do the purchasing. The difference is it doesn't come back to us for approval. It's about transparency, and this is the same fight we had with the procurement ordinance. It's about, so one agenda item saying that we piggybacked to buy one of these items that cost $150,000 is fine with me. It was fine with me when we had the procurement ordinance changes, that we should see those things, and things of that, spending that amount of money, we should see, oh, is it a piggyback? Was there a bid process? What was the process that led us there? And that all it is a simple agenda item that it comes back to us then for approval.
I don't know if
Very
it's
good.
so
Okay.
simple. It takes staff time
Okay.
and effort and advertisements.
This
It
is
does
this
take
is a
lot.
resolution.
Okay.
Well, I still feel it just, I just have the utmost respect for staff, and I don't think we have, I think we have a great staff and a great management team, and I don't see any reason why you would doubt it or feel like you would have to make sure that they're not spending more than $75,000 on a truck.
That's not
Whatever.
what I'm saying. That's not what this is about. It's not about them spending more than what's in here. It's about things over $75,000 up to $200 don't come back to us. So maybe it did cost $20,000 more or $20,000 less, but or maybe there was a bid process and we want to see if there were local bidders used. It's things like that that we no longer get to see.
Right, okay, so let's try and bring this home. I think we've asked a lot of questions, been a lot of comments. Do we have any more questions on the actual, on the resolution itself? Okay, Commissioner Fessick.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Sure.
The list we have in front of us on page 17, is this, and I understand that it was approved, is this a wish list? Because I remember we used this term. Is this a wish list or an actual list of what we are planning to purchase?
Those are the items that we intend to purchase once we have financing.
Okay. Is there anything, I asked if we already purchased something, but obviously if we don't have the money, we couldn't purchase it yet. Are we committed in any way? Have we ordered anything, or are we committed in any way for any of these projects, just out of curiosity?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay.
This is just for us to get the financing to proceed in purchasing these intended capital assets.
Okay. I want to make sure that I'm very clear. I think staff does an amazing job in doing these things. I understand it takes a lot of work. These are complicated documents, and so I appreciate all the time and effort and energy that has been expended. So we're committing to purchase what we want, or what we need rather, and we're going to do it through the financing. And I'm just asking, what's the worst that could happen if we do not approve this by the 4th, aside from the interest lock? If there is any way to have some additional clarification, or to make sure that we do see certain things, maybe it's segmented, I'm just confused on some of this.
These are approved capital outlay. If we have not any financing, none of these items can be purchased. Okay. So it will be coming back again in the next cycle for requests, but nothing can be done.
Okay.
Because we don't have the money to purchase it.
Okay, thank you.
But there's no obligation to purchase these items. In other words, some of these things could come off the list if suddenly we decided we didn't need this lawnmower or something.
Okay, with the term, they have up until 2 years to acquire these assets.
Right. I'm just pointing out, it's
a two-year to acquire the assets.
right. Okay, but I mean, something like an ice machine, if suddenly we decided, no, gosh, our guys just fixed that ice machine, so we don't need to buy a new one, they may not buy the ice machine.
I mean, it was requested for the certain parks to have the ice machine. That's why it's on the list.
Gotcha. I got Vice Mayor.
One of the things that, when I looked at this, that struck me was we're into January already too, and I don't know when we normally do this because we're several months into the budget year. I would almost have expected to see this much sooner, and now we're being told it has to, that maybe it's.
So typically, it would have been in from November, December, prior years. It would have gone in before the end of the prior fiscal year. But I was in the process of doing the bond financing. So that was too much at the same time to be working on the bond financing and this financing at the same time.
Okay, and what do you think the interest rate risk is right now? I heard the mayor's opinion, but
it's increasing. So as you see the summary, that 3 banks was able to give us the interest rate below 4%, and everyone else was giving us interest rate over 4.5 or 4.8%.
Thank you. Any further questions on the resolution? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fessick.
No.
Commissioner Perkins.
No.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Poinier.
no.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item fails. All right. That takes us up to item number 18, is the second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 34 City Policy to coincide with the terms of the 2024 through 2027 General Employees Collective Bargaining Agreement by amending Section 34.108 Pay Plans to adjust the pay amounts for temporary position upgrades by amending Section 34.110 Merit Salary Increases to reflect performance pay increases by deleting Section 34.113 Longevity Increases in its entirety by amending Section 34.126 Probationary Period to change the probationary period to 6 months for new hires by amending Section 34.127 Hours of Work to incorporate the 10-hour workday by amending Section 34.128 legal holidays to add newly observed holidays, by amending Section 34.129 vacation leave to adjust the applicable vacation credits for full-time employees, by amending Section 34.130 sick leave to add accumulated time for the 10-hour workday and to reflect the maximum payout upon separation from the city, by amending Section 34.132 leave of absence to increase leave with pay benefits, and by amending Section 34.135 outside study courses to change the eligibility period, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Ms. Sinigo.
Good evening, Lisa Sinego, Human Resources Director. These items are follow-up to the recently negotiated General Union Collective Bargaining Agreement. This is the second reading, and there's no changes from the first reading.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Frenier,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 19 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 155 zoning code of the City of Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances by amending the table of contents, by amending Section 155.4201 general, by amending Section 155.4208 institutional government uses, by amending Section 155.4215 commercial boat, marine sales, and service uses, by amending Section 155.4219 commercial motor vehicle sales and service uses, by amending Section 155.4222 commercial retail sales and service uses, retail sales, by amending Section 155.4226 industrial service uses, by amending Section 155.4227 industrial manufacturing and production uses, by amending Section 155.4228 industrial warehousing and freight movement uses, by amending Section 155.4303 standards for specific accessory uses and structures, by amending Article 9 definitions and interpretation, Part 5 terms and uses defined, by amending Appendix A consolidated use table to clarify and distinguish outdoor activities performed during business hours and outdoor storage, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good afternoon, or evening, Mr. Weems.
Good evening, Max Weems, Principal Planner, Development Services. This is the second reading of this ordinance. There have been no changes since the first reading. I have received no input or discussion that requires any follow-up. I'm available for questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Frenier,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 20 is a first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute a multi-year agreement between the City of Pompano Beach and CRS Max Consultants, Inc. for professional services related to the Community Rating System CRS program, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening again, Ms. Dolan.
Thank you, Mayor. Commission Jean Dolan, Development Services. This is agenda item to approve a 3-year contract for CRS Max to assist the city in the implementation of our CRS program, which operates on a 3-year cycle. The city has had annual agreements with CRS Max for this purpose since 2015, and this is the first time we've sought a multi-year contract. The Community Rating System is a voluntary national program developed by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and administered by the Insurance Services Office to provide discounts on flood insurance policies for participating communities that implement outreach programs to promote flood insurance and have requirements for land development that exceed the minimum requirements of the National Insurance Policy Act, NFIP. The CRS program is defined by a 641-page manual that lays out the points possible for various aspects of a city's program. The scores possible for any community range from a score of 0 or a score of 10, which provides a 0 discount, to a score of 1, which provides a 45% discount. The city currently has a CRS program score of 6, which provides a 20% discount for flood insurance policies within the special flood hazard area. The subject 3-year contract will allow CRS Max to continue to support staff in the implementation of our CRS program through the next 3-year CRS cycle while saving staff time on administering annual agreements. and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good, thank you. Good explanation there, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Commissioner Perkins.
The CRS, you said we've been working with them since 2015. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, we've been in the CRS program for much longer than that, but we've started using CRS Max in 2015.
Okay. Now, is this something that we have to have a consultant for? We don't have staff equipped to handle the impact of flooding and what goes along with it? I mean, we're not able to equip staff with seminars and workshops and conferences that we have to go out and get a consultant.
Well, CRS Max is worth their weight in gold. They know this program inside and out. They used to work for ISO. So when staff has to try to figure out a 641-page manual and how to negotiate and navigate that, it's extremely difficult unless that's your full-time job, and we don't have a staff person that works full-time. The sustainability coordinator is the one that does the CRS program. So we do a lot of the paperwork associated with the CRS program, but CRS Max is what helps us keep moving forward. And I'll tell you a little story. So in 2018, we had our cycle visit. So the 3-year cycle, it's a cycle visit where they come and they look at every single thing you do, and then the next 2 years, you do an annual review.
Can I just interrupt real quick? You say when they come. Is CRS Max who comes or somebody else?
Somebody from the ISO.
From the ISO, the
Right,
insurance.
So the Insurance Services Office works, and they have to show FEMA that we're meeting all the requirements in the 641-page manual under the program, under the sections, the activities that we've chosen to participate with. So in 2018, we did our cycle visit. So the guy that comes from ISO is like the judge, right? And you're on trial. And we're making our case, and we're showing them all our documentation. We've got our GIS person in there showing all the mapping. We're checking all the boxes. So the guy's name is Craig Carpenter. So he's like, oh, wow, you guys did a great job. So the first thing they do after our cycle visit is they send us a letter that's the things you have to provide within 30 days that they think are still gaps in your analysis. We got our 30-day letter, only a couple things, handled it. Well, a couple months later, we find out Craig Carpenter has got some kind of medical issue, and they're going to assign our judgment to somebody who was not at our trial. Tracy Belangia was her name. She was located in Georgia. She knows nothing about how drainage work in South Florida. It took us 18 months to get them to judge our program, after we went through months of help providing more and more information and trying to explain to this woman how drainage works in South Florida. They ended up saying at the end of all that, oh, we're not going to give you the extra points, we're just going to leave you at a 7. Well, CRS Max, who knows the people on the inside, they went to those people and said, this is not right. Pompano's done everything they were supposed to do. Our judge that was actually at our hearing found everything to be in compliance. They worked from the inside of ISO out and got us our 6. So we were rated a 6 after that and have been since that started on April 1, 2020. Without them, it's like an insurance claim. You send an insurance claim to your health insurance company and they deny it. And then what do you got? Who you got to help you with that? Who's going to navigate that system for you? That's what CRS Max does for us. They know how to navigate that system. Another thing they do is they've passed a new rule that you can't have a single mistake on an elevation certificate. If you do, they'll plunge you right back to a 10, so you get 0 if you have one mistake on an elevation certificate. So they really help us with that. They know what ISO is looking for, because a lot of these things are subjective in terms of which box do you check on this elevation certificate. And by the way, surveyors do that. We don't do that. We only review that. So all these elevations or certificates are coming in for every project we do. Those have to be perfect in the eyes of ISO. CRS Max, who is coming from their perspective, knows how to review those so that we don't end up having any mistakes, and that's been such a comfort to us, not having to worry about do we have gaps and that sort of thing. So that's what CRS Max gives us. It's like us having a man on the inside looking at our stuff and knowing how it's going to be judged before we submit it.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I brought it up because often we see on the agenda consultants, and I've always stressed the fact that we have a very smart staff. So, but with this, I support everything you just said, but in the future, we all in this dais need to start looking a little bit more at the consultants that we're hiring in this city, city and CRA. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Questions, concerns? Just out of curiosity, Ms. Dolan, okay, so we've got a 20% discount, is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
In the city of Pompano Beach on flood insurance?
Right, if you're in a special flood hazard area.
Gotcha. Do you have an estimate of what that is worth to our residents?
Well, the last time we were able to get that was in 2022. Let me tell you what that was. I brought so much stuff. Oh, here we go. So they can't tell us this. They used to give us these what are called what-if scenarios, and they would tell you based on if you were a 9 or a 10 or a 6 or a 5, what your savings would be. They have stopped giving us these because we're in what's called risk rating 2.0, where the premiums are being escalated every year, so they don't give us these what-if scenarios anymore. But this is dated January of 2022 is the last time they could give us what-ifs. So with our 6 at this time, the total savings in our flood insurance policies was $1,128,836. And it was $1 million for the policies in a special flood hazard area, and like $125,000 for those that are in an X zone, but they have flood insurance anyway. So that's what a 6 gave us. And that escalates as you go up. And really, when you think about it, it's going to be more than that because the premiums are more, so the same 20% is going to be a bigger number. What's nice about $1,128,000 is when you divide that per policy, it's not that much money. In a flood zone, it's only about $64 a policy, or it's about $100 a policy for those in a flood zone. What's nice about a small amount of money is people will spend that in the economy. Okay, it's not some big amount of money that they're going to pack away in their savings account. So that whole $1 million really is available to be spent in our local economy.
Very good, yeah, and well, I mean, $100, whatever it is, I mean, that's a lot of money when it's the people's money, and they should keep it. Whether they spend it, save it, whatever, but without the investment in things like CRS Max, which the physical impact is $36,500 for 3 years. So $36,000 and yields $1 million a year. I mean, plus staff. I mean, you guys do a wonderful job, but consultants pay for themselves, quite literally, and many times over. But yeah, it's great that you guys have done such a great job with the flood rating and all that kind of stuff. It really pays tremendous dividends for the residents. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Vice Mayor?
I was looking at that too. The return on this is pretty positive for the city and for people, for the residents. So when you said special flood zone though, so there was a big part of the city that in the new flood maps was put in the flood in that. Is that what you're referring to when it's required?
That's right. If you're in a flood zone, that's called a special flood hazard area.
So they are, as a result of this work that we do with these consultants and with the city, they are all receiving that 20% discount.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Further Commissioner Fasick.
Just one question related to this. In the contract, is this a standard service contract that we have here for this particular? Okay. So that we don't buy anything additional for them, or there's no, like, it's just straight. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that this contract is exactly just something that's a form. So we're not purchasing any, or they're not purchasing anything and invoicing us. It's just straight consulting.
Consulting services. Yeah, most of the work is remote. It's paperwork.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fasick.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Seegerson Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier.
Yes.
Mayor Hart.
Yes. Item 21 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 155 zoning code by amending Section 155.3708 downtown Pompano Beach DP overlay district to modify the designation of certain parcels from residential required to optional residential within the density regulating plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Moved and seconded for discussion. Good afternoon, evening, Mr. Weems again.
Good evening once again, Max Weems, Principal Planner and Development Services. This is a applicant submitted text amendment to the Downtown Pompano Overlay District, specifically the Density Regulating Plan. For some context, this red outline is the overall Downtown Pompano Overlay District, and this red outline within it is the specific target area of the amendment. It is predominantly one block within the district. Specifically this portion of that site. It's the unified parcels around 217 Northeast 3rd Street. For some context, that property is currently, it is zoned Downtown Pompano Overlay District, which is regulated by a series of plans, one of which is the Use Area Regulating Plan. This property currently has a designation of MUR, which is Mixed Use Residential. What that means is that the property is permitted to do commercial and residential uses. There's some specific controls where that residential and commercial use is permitted. Within this district, it's required that if there is commercial use, it's on the ground floor or second floor. Anything above that is required to be residential should the developer choose to do something taller than 2 stories. Germane to this application is the density regulating plan, as the density for this property requires a minimum density for any development application. What that means is should we receive any site plan application for, well, anything, it's going to have a residential component with a minimum of 36 dwelling units per acre. So 1 acre of land, that's 36 dwelling units. Additionally, they have the permission to do a mixed-use component, which could be commercial uses on the ground floor. The reason that this is coming in now is we received an application to do a pickleball court, which would be privately run. That's designated in our code as commercial recreation uses. If this were to comply with code, they would have to do a pickleball court with a minimum of 36 dwelling units per acre above, which isn't really, well, it doesn't align with what the applicant is seeking to do. So the applicant, along with the property owner, has submitted this text amendment. The amendment is pretty straightforward. They are changing that portion of the density regulating plan from a category that is 36 residential required to 36 residential optional. The impact of this change is that, well, I mean, in this application, that they could do a strictly commercial development. What the applicant is proposing is a privately run pickleball facility. However, if that site plan should fall through, any applicant or any property owner, well, of this site would be permitted to do a standalone commercial development, a standalone residential development, or a combination of commercial and residential uses. The uses that are permitted for this site are not changing. So there are no new uses that are being proposed with this application. The change is in the structure in which those uses may be presented on this site. I also want to reiterate that this change is specific to this site as outlined in the red here. We do have some specific review standards for text amendments within our code. It's these 7 standards here. Generally, I'll say that this change is consistent with the standards of the zoning district and the intents of the zoning district. It is supported by our comprehensive plan. It addresses a community need and aligns with our vision for this site to introduce commercial but also recreation with this application uses within a mixed-use district. Obviously, as we're getting more residential uses within the neighborhood, more commercial or recreation uses are supported. So I think that what is proposed here is supported by the intents of the district. I can go into greater detail on these standards if needed. But generally, I'll say that Development Services finds that the applicant's submittal is consistent with the standards for a text amendment and support the application. Also, this received a unanimous recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Board. The applicant and his representative are here for any remarks, and of course, I'm available for any further questions.
Very good, thank you for that. Does the applicant wish to make any presentation on this?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the Commission, and I will be very brief because I think your staff has done an excellent job of presenting what this application is all about and really does speak for itself. For the record, my name is Robert Lockery with an address of 699 North Federal Highway, Fort Lauderdale, on behalf of the applicant and also the property owner of the property. And as your staff report and your staff has indicated, this is really a change to the map of the zoning district. Doesn't change any of the uses. It allows us to put a use on the property that's already a permitted use without building a residential tower above it, essentially. It doesn't preclude the ability to someday in the future build a residential building, but until that comes to be, if it ever comes to be, the property can be put to a good use. In this case, we believe a very beneficial use for the downtown, for the city as a whole, by providing an active use that residents of Pompano Beach can use. I do want to say that prior to this meeting and at the suggestion of the Commission, we did send out a mailer to residents in the immediate area surrounding the property, to folks who are using those residential units. In that mailer, we explained the pickleball facility that we're proposing on the site. We explained the map amendment that's before you tonight, and we asked them to come to a meeting if they had any questions that was held a little over a week ago at Old Town Square. If someone was not able to attend that meeting, we invited them to contact us directly. We did have one resident who came to that meeting. It was the owner of the single-family home, actually directly on the northeast corner of this block. We presented the project to him, answered his questions, and he indicated he had no objections to the request and understood the map amendment. I try to keep it brief. I'm happy to answer any additional questions you may have, but that is the intent of the request. Thank you.
Very good, thank you for that, appreciate it. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Please come forward to the podium. Just give your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Amy Mahaney. I live at 705 Northeast 12th Avenue in Pompano. I've been before you before on other projects related to this developer. I am a big fan of what's going on in the city in this part of town. Just to give you a little background, my husband and I have lived in Old Pompano for 5 years with our daughter. We go to church here at First Baptist, just up the street. And my husband also owns a small warehouse on Atlantic, just, I guess it would be west of 95. So we're all in Pompano, we're fully invested in the city and want to see these projects come to pass. What I like about this is that I think we have a lot of residential density that's going on already with some of the old town apartment properties. I think we do need to kind of activate some of these vacant parcels. I can tell you firsthand, there is a lot of issues with crime. We actually had a robbery at my husband's warehouse this past weekend in broad daylight. There is a lot of an element at night. If you've ever been out at night walking around, there are, we have people selling drugs and there's prostitution. So I think the more people that you have, the more businesses that you have that are open to the public here, it's going to change this area and change the feel of it. What I really like about the pickleball idea is that it's kind of a nice buffer between the tall residential towers and the single-family residential. I think there's been a little pushback on having too much density with the residential, and this would be kind of a nice transition, I think, between that. So I just want to say I strongly support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Just name and address for the record.
Hi there, Jackie Gordon-Jones, District 1. I support it. I'm going to let the rest of them say more.
Very good, thank you for that. Next speaker.
Hi, Gigi Goldman, 521 Southeast 10th Ave, and I support it wholeheartedly without having to go higher, so I'm into it. Thanks.
Very good, thank you for that. Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Heather Parnass. I live at 481 Southeast 10th Avenue. I'm a District 3 resident, and I fully support this. Anything that has like a healthy component and adult entertainment sounds funny, but you know what I mean. I really support this. Thank you.
Very good, thank you for that. Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Gail Roll. I live at 1221 Southeast 3rd Avenue in District 3, and I totally support this.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Boston Talbert. I'm from 2625 Southeast 2nd Street, and I feel like these people are all very brief, and I'm going to overstay my welcome. But I just want to say, first of all, I'm really impressed with all the great work that everybody's been doing downtown. The improvements and the development is really exciting what's going on down there. I don't live too far. I've been in this neighborhood for 12 years now, in Pompano for 20 years. My whole point is any improvement to help fill empty spaces so they don't encourage vagrancy, drugs, and crime is crucial to the area. We're all aware, I don't need to lecture you, everybody knows what's going on. I'll just give a quick anecdote before I leave. 2 weeks ago, I called BSO. I was on my way home from Publix with my 13-year-old son in the car, coming down 23rd Ave by the park where we're about to build McNabb House. I was also at that meeting on Friday. You guys see a lot of me. There was a young lady in the street, completely out of it, standing in the middle of 23rd Ave in the dark, and I almost hit her. I stopped, I flipped on the lights, I gave a couple quick beeps on the horn, and she came back to it and started stumbling off and immediately proceeded to take off every article of clothing she had on. She was walking down the middle of the street butt naked. I called BSO immediately in front of my 13-year-old son. I called BSO and I said, listen, this person's either gonna get hit by a car or raped. We have a problem. Every city in America has problems with these things, and the more we can fill up empty spaces, the more we can get use and citizens out on the sidewalks and doing things, the less of this that we're gonna have. So I don't care if it's pickleball. I clearly am not overly athletic, but anything to make use of those spaces. Downtown is going in a great direction. I fully support anything that encourages that.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Hello, good evening. My name is Eric Calvet. I live at 401 Southeast 4th Street, and I support this also. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Melissa Calvet. I also at 401 Southeast 4th Street, and I am in support of the pickleball also, and I think it would be a great asset to the downtown Pompano.
All right, thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Matt Capiello. I live in District 3, 160 Southeast 3rd Street. Proud resident of Pompano for many years now. Love what everybody's doing with the city. I support this mainly because, you know, we need more recreational areas, especially outdoors. We have a nice park on Federal there with some pickleball courts. Every time I drive by, there's a ton of people playing. They're always waiting and waiting and waiting. And more outdoor activities is a big plus, especially over continued residential development. So I certainly support this and hope we can make this work.
Very good. Thank you for that. Next speaker. Please come forward.
My name is Colleen Duncan, and I don't support it.
Very good. Next speaker.
How are you? My name is Mike Linder. I'm a owner of South Bar and Kitchen, Fort Lauderdale resident, but spend a lot of my time in Pompano. And not only do I play pickleball, I think it's going to bring crisp, good people to the area that are going to actually spend money, athletics, hobbies, and is definitely going to help. I've been patiently waiting for 2 years. So to see growth in the area, especially this kind of growth, I think is going to be beneficial to Pompano. So I don't speak much, but I think this is a good one.
Appreciate it. And thank you for your investment in our community. Appreciate it.
Who's Penn? Mike Skaversky, 1630 Southwest 5th Avenue. Of course, I'm all for it.
Okay. Very good. I appreciate it. Thanks.
I tell you to clap.
Okay.
I just had a couple questions. I didn't read the backup, so it's my apologies. I should have, but I'm too lazy. How many courts are there going to be?
It's not sure at this point in time. I mean, Max doesn't know, but this is the text amendment to allow it to go forward.
Have any idea what you're going to put up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
We've got. We'll have that addressed as cleanup comments when the attorney comes back up. How about that, Mike? We'll get that one addressed.
Okay, so will there be specific hours, 7 till 6? Will there be lights there, or that's not been addressed either yet?
It'll comply with code because the use is currently allowed there. Whatever regulations there are for that use, it'll comply with that. But here again, we can get an update on that kind of stuff from the attorney. How about that?
Do you know the answers?
Mr. Lockery knows everything.
He'll make a stab at it. So any more?
No, that's it. Put it up.
Ours? Okay. Okay, thank you. Further input from the public?
Good evening, Jackie Moreland at 1526 Northwest 7th Lane. I support whatever this community wants for their community and their district, but what I really came up here to say, I like all the smiles that I saw on your faces when they got up. I just want to see the same when I come up and present things and have things for you too. Congratulations.
Very good, thank you. Next speaker. Further input from the public?
Jocelyn Jackson. I would like to say I support this. I support this item on many reasons. We had an addition to the new downtown, so I like that. I'm excited, especially when the young lady
Ms. Jackson, if you can face this way so we can hear you.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Especially when the lady spoke about, you know, drugs, gun violence, you know, people walking on the street, which I experienced that, what the gentleman said about, you know, nudity, they walk in the street. So more action, entertainment, you know, activities, development, you know, I think that would help out with some of these things that we're seeing around here. It'd change just the demographic of everything, you know, not looking so slum and blighted, especially in our downtown. So I'm gonna say the same crew who came here today, we need your support when we get ready for for the Northwest downtown. We want the same support that we're giving you guys. So kudos, I'm for.
Very good, thank you.
For our city looking good.
Very good. Please, no clapping. Any further input from the public? Mr. Lockery, it looks like, let's go ahead and close the public so Mr. Lockery can come up and address those questions, if you could.
Certainly, to the mayor, vice mayor, commissioners. Yeah, so the current plans have not been approved. This is the first step. But the plans that have been introduced to the city do have a total of 17 pickleball courts. There's 4 that are open air, 3 that are in the existing building that'll be renovated, and then 10 that'll be covered on the north side of the property.
Okay, and what about hours and lights? I think Mr.
There will there will be lights. Obviously, they'll be covered. Most of the 10 on all the 10 on the north will be covered, and then the 3 in the building itself. The 3 at the southwest corner have lights. I don't think hours have been determined yet, but it will comply with all the city codes.
Very good, appreciate it. No, this is private. This is private for pay. There. All right, very good. Then public input is closed. Commission discussion. I've got Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So I am well aware that District 3 is definitely for pickleball. We're looking forward to the new courts at Kip Jacoby when those get started, also the new public courts that will be free, Mr. Skaversky. I want to thank you for doing the outreach so that the community was aware that what was coming. I appreciate that. I always say give me less tall buildings and more fun things to do. Close to the communities. So I am grateful that, you know, this idea came before us, and I think it's going to be a fun amenity in a good location for it. I do have a couple concerns, and the first one is always like if the pickleball, you know, contractor or owner drops out, and now we have just a commercial use there, could we have a commercial shopping center full of vape shops across from the middle school?
Well, yes, but we could have that as part of any development that would occur on that site.
With residential above it, so you would have vape shops and residential versus just commercial and vape shops.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like I would support that, but that is a permitted use,
right.
And there is not a separation requirement from the middle school.
It just reminds me again that maybe we need to look at some of that in our code, the use there, because I hear it over and over about the proliferation of vape shops, and there's such low barriers to entry. So it's almost a joke when something closes. Everyone's like, what's going to go in there? Well, it's going to be a vape shop. So this made me think of that. So I'd like us to take a look at that. And then the other thing is, as I think about this area and how much we're building it up. It's right across from Pompano Beach Middle School, and when it rains at that middle school, when it rains hard, those kids are walking in like ankle to knee deep water. And I know that we don't have financial responsibility for what goes on there, but I do know that the school board and the city, I think, have worked together. But the flooding at that middle school has not been resolved, and it was really bad in the last rainstorm. So we also need to work with them on that as we cover up green space with more concrete right there. And any help from the developer or anyone that's, profiting in that area that wants to help us on any of those projects with the schools is always appreciated. So that there's a lot of need at that middle school, and partnerships there are always valuable. So we'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Very good. Further, Commissioner Fasick.
So I love the idea that it would be residential optional, because I think that many times we have heard that we're sort of limited by what can or cannot happen. And so for this particular area, I've driven past there. I know the lot. I know the area itself. I agree with everybody here that something has to be done, and I applaud the open-ended or creative thinking in this situation to truly give the neighborhood something good that people will want to come to. I may be somewhat biased because I'm somewhat against massive large-scale buildings, but I'm also very much a new addict when it comes to pickleball, so I would definitely be in support of this project.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fanier.
Yes.
Mayor Harton.
Yes, thank you all very much. Item number 22 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 51 Sewers of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pompano Beach by amending Section 51.05 Wastewater Tariff to modify rates and charges for sewer service, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded for discussion. Good evening, Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Randy Brown, Utilities Director. This is a recommendation for an increase on the wastewater rates to pay for the county's increase on our operations of a wastewater treatment. This is a bill like any other that we would get from T-Mobile or FP&L. It's something we need to pay. I have Elaine Conti with me from Raftelis Consulting, and she'll go ahead with her presentation.
Very good.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you. And as Mr. Brown said, very briefly going to go over some additional information from last time that I think may be helpful.
Just identify yourself also.
Okay. Last time we had some discussion about the...
Identify yourself, please.
I'm sorry, Elaine Conti, Raftelis. My apologies.
All right.
Last time we had some discussion about the customer impacts, and so I wanted to break that out and give you a little bit more detail about that, because last time we just focused on the average residential customer. What this chart shows you is it's breaking down the impacts by usage. So for example, when we look at this first bar chart, or the first bar, this is for anybody that uses between 0 and 3,000 gallons, which is about 27% of single-family residential customers. They would have an additional impact of $1.03 or less. Those that use between 4,000 and 5,000 gallons represents about 22% of the single-family residential customers, and they would have an impact of an additional $1.04 to $1.31 on their bill. So that's about 50% of single-family customers will have an impact of $1.31 or less due to this increase that we're requesting. The average residential customer that uses 8,000 gallons, that represents about 15% of the single-family bills. So those are the ones that would have an impact of $1.73 to $1.32, depending on whether they're using 6 or 8,000 gallons. And then those that use more than the average, you'll see they'd have an impact of, depending on their usage, it could be if they use between 9 and 10,000 gallons, that's only 8% of single-family residential customers. They'd have an impact of about $1.74 to $2 additional on their bill, and of course, those that are higher users would have greater than $2 on their bill. So that is what the impact will be. Again, it depends on the customer's usage. We showed this chart last time, but to show the affordability of the rates, we do compare them to surrounding utilities. You'll notice that you are in the lower quadrant. This is for the average for a single-family customer using 8,000 gallons. We also looked at this for a lower user, 5,000 gallons, and you actually even compare even more favorably. So we do look at affordability when we are looking at rate increases. We have looked at doing what we can to keep the rates affordable. We looked at the timing of the capital projects. We pushed some of those out. There was certain pay-go projects, which means you usually cash fund them or fund them through rates, that we also debt finance to try to take some of the pressure off of rates. And we also looked at other revenues, miscellaneous revenues that were increased back in October. And so we have looked at that to try to minimize the impact. And the reason why we're asking for this too is you have issued bonds. Having this rate increase will allow the city to keep its finances, the enterprise fund, keep those finances where they need to be for future bond issuances, which we are anticipating for the capital improvement plan, keeps the reserves. It's the city's target. There is a target, and those reserves are also looked at by the rating agencies for future bond issuances. So, you know, we've done what we can to keep these affordable, and that's what we're requesting this evening.
Very good. That's it for the presentation?
That's it.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward.
Mayor, if I may, just
Mr. Seeger-Eden?
thank you. Just a personal privilege. The last meeting, I misspoke, and I wanted to clarify. During reports, I was under the assumption that District 4 also was on county water. I was incorrect. So it's District 2 pays directly to the county, and I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Go ahead, sir. Just name and address.
Hey, Dwayne Rivera from Southeast 7th Avenue, Pompano Beach. So basically, you know, like I said before earlier, when when I first approached the council and you know everyone here at the desk, my mom, my dad, they're both retired, and I understand that there's seems like dollar and cents here, but after everything is added up, their monthly expenses and what they have to do as far as their food and everything they have to do, let's try to strive for being number one on that list when it comes to the least amount for the water and the sewer. Like I said, on our street alone, there are 4 new homes that had just been sold to out-of-state buyers with an increase of $20,000 to $25,000 for annual real estate tax. So that alone, with those 4 homes alone, you're looking at an extra $100,000 a year just for that street alone, for 7th Avenue. Not to mention 2 other homes that are on for sale. One that's being built up, which the city is going to receive more revenue from that. So I'm hoping that the city can have mercy on our retirees and try to strive to be number one as far as the least expensive regarding sewer and water because of the additional revenue of taxes.
Very good. Thank you for that, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next speaker. Please come forward.
Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest 5th Avenue. I 100% sympathize with this gentleman over here and his parents, and all of you are getting paid, aren't you? You're all making money. So are they. Let's see how much you really care about the residents. And you want to know something? These water bills, the water bill already went up. I'm not sure if there's other things included in there, like sewage and stuff. My water bill's already gone up about 12% in the last 6 to 8 months. So enough's enough. We have people living like this family here. There's literally tens of thousands of them in our city like that. We have in the Northwest area. You raise the water bill a little bit here, a little bit there. People can't afford this. I know, you're all getting paid. Most of you up here have some money in the bank. People like this are on Social Security. They can't afford another nickel. And you know what? I don't even believe that chart. Enough's enough. You raise the taxes. We can't, the water bill is a tax. It's tax, 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 tax. Let them figure out other ways to do whatever they have to do with bonds. No, we're not going to fall apart here. Enough's enough. And if anything, maybe you can just raise it on the people that are at the very top using it. That's about it. Other than that, all the rest of us, leave us alone. We've had enough.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
See, I'm smiling. Jackie Moreland, 1526 Northwest 7th Lane. Can you put up that other chart you had where it was showing like the percentage that each household, how it would go up? That highest is like $2 and something, right? Is that the max? And because I agree with this gentleman, both gentlemen here, my water bill within the last 5 to 6 months, it's gone up tremendously. I'd say more than 12%. And I know, like he said, sewage is included in everything, but when you're counting, I have a 91-year-old mother too at 124 Northwest 15th Street, and the water bill is just astronomically higher than what it was the last 6, 7, 8 months. But is that the highest that it will go for that particular household?
No, it'll depend on their usage.
So that's, I mean, more usage, the higher. So what does that really represent? It represents the median, the medium, or of what it could be, or approximately? Because you're saying it could be more than, the more you use, the more your increase is going to be monthly.
Yes.
Is there any other way to look at doing what needs to be done rather than having our water bills go up? Can we entertain anything else other than that? Because like they're saying, by the time you add on tax, by the time you add on, garbage and all the other things, it's going to be more. And if I have a lawn, I have to water that to keep the grass from dying. So, I mean, at certain times of the year, it's going to be higher anyway, but any little increase is a big increase sometimes with certain citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Again, my name is Colleen Duncan. It's a shame that the water bill is going up. Groceries is going up. People on fixed income, they can't afford this. Y'all need to stop this. Just like the young man said, y'all getting paid. We on fixed income. We don't need no high prices. Thank you very much.
Very good, thank you. Next speaker.
Jocelyn Jackson. You guys are with the county, right? No, you with the county. This is because this item came back. Correct?
These folks. Randy Brown works for us, and that's our rate consultant. But the county has increased our sewage rate.
Right.
That's what this is about.
Exactly. And I do understand because I had an issue also with the water. But if we look at the infrastructure, all that is included on your water bill. Sewer, a lot of things are included on the water bill. So what happened with me, because my water bill gone extremely high. But what happened, I had one of the inspectors to come out. But the issue that I was having was one of the things on the toilet. Mm-hmm. Yes, the flapper, because my bill was like almost $1,000. So by us not having knowledge of things, if you could, I don't know if you have like a little cheat sheet or a little list or something that we maybe can, look at some of the things within our home, that can drive your water bill up more than what it should be. Do you guys have anything like that to kind of help the residents out for us to take a look at some, some of the things that we use at home? Because they have sometimes the toilets, like they have the toilets for economy use, where it don't fill up so much water. That's what I'm saying. Make some adjustments for the elderly people who are on a fixed income. Maybe it's some things that we maybe can adjust within the residents, like the hot water heater. That's what I'm saying. Is it anything like that that you guys can provide that the residents maybe can take a look within the household to kind of lower the water bill as well?
Yeah, they do. They've got conservation measures, but that's really separate from what we're talking about here. But yeah, they do. They've got conservation measures. Also, people can sign up for the reuse water if it's in their area and stuff like that, which can save a lot of dollars, actually.
Right. On top of the change, if you already have a prior issue, then the change come about, it will be extremely higher. That's what I'm saying. Is it some things maybe the residents maybe can check out themselves, so they won't increase more debt to the water bill? That's what I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have anything where we can go online and take a look? And
Yeah, I'm getting a nod ahead from Randy. We do get conservation measures we encourage, and there's a suite of things you can do.
Okay, so it's online.
Under the utilities website, there's conservation
Right.
tips you could do to lower your bills.
Okay, and it actually was my mom water bill. She's 78 years old, so I understand. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Dr. King, Pompano Beach. So you said this increase is due to the county? The county is imposing these fees upon us?
Yes, ma'am.
And so what, are we going to get higher services because we're going to be paying more money? I mean, the same county that I come and complain month after month about our road on 15th Street, and no one has helped me yet. So I don't have any faith in the county to be paying any extra money. We don't get what we pay for now. So I'm not optimistic, and if there's any way around it to help and assist people that are already in financial struggling right now, I just think we could maybe look at some other means to cut this cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mayor.
Mr. Brown.
Our customer service department has outside agencies that can help with people who are really struggling to pay their bills, and we refer people all the time.
That's why I think grant opportunities and things of that nature. Right. Very good. So yeah, hope everybody just heard what Mr. Brown said, that they've got through customer service, they've got agencies that help people who really can't pay their water bill. So contact customer service. Absolutely. Next speaker.
Yes, Tangela Jackson Brown, 871 Northwest 6th Avenue, Pompano Beach, Florida. I'm here to reflect on what he just said about outside agencies. There are other agencies that can help you, but sometimes the funds are limited to where everybody don't have access, and they're not able to assist anyone. And when speaking of the elderly, my mom, she's just relocated back here from Orlando. This is she's retiring home. She was born and raised here. Y'all say 1800 block Golden Acres, she say Puerto Rican Project. That's where she come from. Those are her roots. And with her coming here, and she's in retirement, she's coming here to live her best life, not be incurring additional fees when she's coming back home. She want to enjoy her retirement, not come in to where her water bill is maybe $150 1 month, $100 a month, because she's a retired nurse, so she got a habit washing her hands. That's something that she does constantly. And then next month her bill is $250. So, and if you're gonna raise it, I suggest that y'all do some type of seminars for the elderly, or hold some type of programs that can assist them. And a lot of them are not computer savvy, because my mom isn't. She called all 16 of her grandkids till she reached somebody that can help her. So if you are gonna do this, then you need to infiltrate, put some type of structure to where if they could go to the nice home y'all built over there off of Dr. Martin Luther King, the little center where they go to, where you can bring people in that can assist them and get them some type of training. Or at least provide them with the knowledge to where their loved ones can assist them with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the input. Thank you. Next speaker. Anyone further from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concern. Commissioner Perkins?
Yeah, I think that was a very good idea, what she just suggested. Maybe we can put something in place, because the rate's gonna go up anyway with the county. We can put something in place for those that are in need or help or some kind of assistance we can give them. And we can put flyers and things like that in the water bill to tell them where to go get help or resources to help them. So is that something we can do? Let me just hear what everybody else have to say, because I think I want to make a motion, but go ahead.
We're already doing it, Commissioner Perkins.
Already doing what?
We have a number of people that are on a pay plan that has been worked out with the Utilities Department. Anyone that's having problems paying their water bill can go to the Utilities Department and ask for this type of pay plan in order to get them out from under whatever it is that they're having a problem with.
That's good to know, but a lot of people don't even know anything about that. Nobody's heard anything. This is my first time hearing that. So if I don't know, I'm pretty sure the community does not know that. But it's good to know, and thank you for offering that, Mr. City Manager.
Very good. For the Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I do think we probably have a lot of programs and resources, because I know people who have taken advantage of them, from drop counter to people receiving letters saying that their usage was high for a month, and people calling and saying they couldn't pay and having the city work with them. But I think communication of that and the outreach to the people who most need it, which are, generally the elderly and people on fixed incomes, is it might be harder to reach. So we might need to think through better ways to reach those people. And make sure that those programs are getting to the people who need them. There were a lot of questions asked. So rates did go up because we issued a bond, and so everyone who thinks their water bill went up, you're right. And I remember, like I said the last time, reluctantly voting for that, but it was for infrastructure projects that we needed. So when this came to us, I was frustrated that we didn't do it all at once, because we did it once, and now we're coming back with new information from the county. But this is really a pass-through from the county based on usage. So there's not a good way to kind of allocate it somewhere else or offset it. It's a pass-through rate. And to Mr. Skaversky, your point of take it from the people in the top bucket, I think that's actually probably backwards, because those are people who might have the biggest households using a lot of water. So the people who have the most kids and maybe life is unaffordable for them, there's a lot of usage there. So there's not a simple way. But they're paid based on usage. This is based on usage, which is what it is. I've asked, is there any other way we can pay for this? Any other fees? Go vote for it then. So I understand the life.
Mr. Skaversky, please.
I understand the cumulative effects of this on life is really difficult for people, and I think it just puts more pressure on this body during budget season, because that is something that we do control, to make sure that we do as much as we can to keep our tax rate low, so that property taxes stay stable, because those are things that we can control, whereas this is really something that's being thrust upon us from the outside, from the county. But I also want to say something about the process. So I did vote to support this the first time, but didn't vote for the second emergency reading of it, because I think our processes are important for transparency. And I had a lot of people tell me that they wanted to come, but they couldn't come to the 1 p.m. meeting. And you can see how many people spoke on this topic today versus the number of people who spoke on it at the 1 p.m. meeting. So it is important. If this is important enough that we have to send out a mailer to let people know, and it's impacting everyone directly, we need to make sure we follow our processes and do at least one reading at a 6 p.m. meeting. So Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Perkins.
Mr. City Manager, can you provide that information again? Anyone listening that need help or assistance with their bill? Who they would contact, the phone number, email address, anything that you or staff might have.
What's the phone number at the utilities department?
Customer service?
Yes.
Everybody have your pens out?
That's it. That's it.
Go to the website.
You all like
it's
the
under
email.
Customer service.
She's not wanting to go to the website. She's
Yeah, but
wanting
it
me
is.
to give the number out right here.
Just so everybody hears that, though, it is on the website under the customer service tab for utilities. But you're about to hear what the telephone number is for customer service also. That's the way to access special programs like this, to help defray the bill.
All seniors.
Nobody knows the customer service.
Nobody knows customer.
We don't.
City Manager, you don't know the customer service
No,
number?
nobody does.
It's
Wait, here comes Mario's got it. All right. Code enforcement comes through.
Mario's the man.
All right, so here's the customer service telephone number, folks.
954-786-4637.
4637. All right. So that's the telephone number to call to get help with your bill. Okay? Very good. Mr. Perkins, you start
All right.
the floor.
So if they go onto the city website and go under utilities, they can also reach customer service that way and find information that way as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Fasick.
I want to make sure that I thank you for explaining a lot of this to me, and I understand that this is a pass-through sort of situation. I have received very many comments, emails, phone calls, texts, et cetera, from residents who are dealing with, already many of my residents in District 1 live in condos, and so they're feeling that pinch of everywhere, and I understand this, and I know that I feel 100% confident that you did your due diligence in explaining this to me. I made a promise at the very beginning of this process that no matter what, I would represent the voice of the residents who reached out. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear that you did everything you could, and I fully understand, and I just want to make sure that my residents know that I will honor that promise to them. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Smith.
I want people to realize that Pompano's very good with our water system. Very good. You guys are very efficient with what you do, technology. And every month that we don't support this, we're having to pull money from our reserves. Our reserves is what makes us so healthy in our city with water. And those that mention that they have $200 water bills, I can't help but think there's a leak somewhere. Just a little drip. A running toilet will make a bill go up $500 a month. So if your water bill's at $200, maybe we can get reuse watering in that area for the lawns, but check for leaks, and I think you guys go out and help them check for leaks. So our water bills are lower than a lot of the cities in Broward County. But I just want the commission to realize, and the residents to realize, we don't want to jeopardize the reserves that we have for our infrastructure. And that's what we do if we don't support this bill.
Very good. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So, Mr. Brown, if we don't support this, like I said, it's a pass-through, so we still have a bill to pay from the county. What would we do over time to pay that? It would come out of reserves or the utilities enterprise? What would you do?
There's two ways to do it. One is to continue to drain down our reserves. We're already over 700,000 under our target, and it'll go down each month as we don't pay the bill or fund the bill. We're paying it, but we're not funding it. And the other way is to cut projects to improve the wastewater system.
What do you expect based on usage to be, what is the cumulative amount a month that this, based on an average usage that this is?
Well, the wastewater increase is $1.73 per month.
I mean, total, like to Pompano, to you, if you have to pay this bill instead.
So the impact is $1 million a year, is what we're talking about.
Okay, and how much do we have in reserve?
22.6. $22,600,000.
Okay, and if you needed to find $1 million a year, how could you do that? With what projects would you cut?
Fixing sewer lines, like Cypress, right there where we had the sewer break.
Well, you can't not fix that, right? So, less water, could you do the water meters could you do less of the water meters that we?
This is the wastewater enterprise fund.
So you cannot start doing, it has to be all sewer.
Right. And as we, just to make a point, is that we do not receive taxes for funding of the utilities. It is, we are a business and an enterprise fund, and we have to operate as such.
Understood, yeah, you're an enterprise fund, so you have to balance your own operations. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Because Mr. Brown, I'm sure I know the answer to this question, but did you guys look at other options to fill this bucket that we have to fill? Because you know that's what people are saying. Figure out some other way to pay for it. So you looked at that, I'm sure, didn't you?
We work for grants every day for ways to lower the impact to the ratepayer. And we have worked over the past 10 to 15 years to have almost no debt in the utility. We have paid cash as we go, and we've gone almost down to 15 million before this bond. And for a utility of our size to only have 15 million of debt is a great fiscal management from all of our departments to get down to that little debt. So we work very hard to give the ratepayers as much as we can.
So the answer is yes. You looked at other options, but there aren't any. This is where the rubber really meets the road. And you look for grants wherever you can, but this is ongoing. Would any kind of grants help fill this hole?
Not typically as a daily operational expense. Usually the grants are like for the reuse system or the new treatment plant. We got a huge grant for about 10 million. So those are designated for those specific projects.
Gotcha. Understood. Very good. Yeah. So I totaled this up. So for FY 2025, we're looking at $1.73 per month increase. That's average. This is the average. For 2026, it's $1.84 a month. 2027, it's $2.09 per month. 2028, it's $2.33 per month. In 2029, it's $2.58 per month. And that's over what we're currently paying.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Yeah. But and I agree with Commissioner Smith talking about $200 water bills. I think there may be some confusion out there also, though. When people get their bill in the mail, it doesn't just include the water. There's other stuff on there. There's garbage, and I'm not sure what all, without having it in front of me. But it's not just the water. But in cases where there is a sudden increase in water usage with a property, do you have measures in place that you can alert the user that there's a problem, so they don't wind up with a $1,000 bill or something?
That's one of the nice things about the new meters, and the old meter system also did that as well, is alert you to something that's out of the range. We make contact when that happens. Whether you hunt it down, the flapper is almost very common in people's houses. You hear that water running in your bathroom, that's most likely where it's going. And it will add up quickly.
Yes, will, definitely. Okay. Very good. Further commission discussion. Vice Mayor?
Just quickly on that, how many people use drop counter? What's our adoption rate of that?
It's low.
It's very low, right?
Yes, and we need more people to join into it.
It's a tough system to use. I've used it, and so it's something more real time, because I do know you get a letter in the mail, but by the time you get the letter, you have a $1,000 bill. So something, if the meters are that good, it would be great to have a better way to let people know that there's some anomaly going on quicker.
Very good. Good, Commissioner Fessick, and then I got Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
So I know that you said a lot of really good information in terms of this is a pass-through rate. And the question I have, and I know that we have discussed this a little bit before, but I just make sure that residents will hear this discussion by doing it here. Is there anything we can do moving forward to help raise, since you're an enterprise fund, to help raise that dollar amount in your fund to make sure that the next time, because let's face it, life is life and prices usually go up rather than down, that the next time we have some sort of shock or sticker shock from an unexpected bill, that we'll have a fund designated, or we have some way to shoulder it potentially for the next time, or pass the cost not just to the residents?
Well, the reserves we keep are for emergency purchases, like when we had the deep well go down. Most places wouldn't have had $8 million to pay for it. When we had the sewer break on Northwest 15th Street, where FDOT drilled through it, we had to fund all the repair work and everything until we got reimbursed through the lawsuit. So that's what the reserves are for, not day-to-day operations. So the only way to pare down operations is people, power, chemicals, or projects.
And in a growing city, we obviously don't want to pare any of that down. Okay. The second portion of that, just because I feel like it's really important, it's valuable information for residents to hear, is that, first of all, you should be commended for running a fund that is actually has reserves in, and so I understand that you have worked tirelessly to try to find an alternative. I just wanted to make sure that people do know that you have tried, and I have heard that as well. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Segerson-Eaton? You're good? Just out of curiosity, Randy, this increase, excuse me, this increase that came down from the county, was there, did county utilities just decide it, or was it approved by the county commission?
It was approved by the county commission. We were notified of a possible increase. That was passed on to the county for approval. Once we got the approval from them, and we did the rate study, and with a couple hurricanes preparedness being thrown in, it came to us, and we were able to bring it to you in December.
Right, because my point is that this has been thrust upon us by the county. Now, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. When costs go up, and I'm sure the county didn't just wake up, the county utilities director didn't just wake up some morning and say, I'm going to charge Pompano this much more. There's got to be some reason, rationale behind it. But it was approved by the county commission at a public hearing, which, yeah, nobody in Pompano knew about it. And I'm not trying to deflect blame here at all. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but we are reacting to something that's been thrust upon us by the county. And I think when we talked about these issues previously, you indicated that, yeah, there's sometimes they come up with 14%, sometimes they come up with 8%. They come up with their numbers, and they're not your numbers. You don't know what their system is. It's not like you can go to, but let me ask you that though. Did you go to the county and say, hey, can you cut us a break?
It's the bill that I got, and I did not go to the commission and complain because they do run a very good operation.
Okay, and every other entity that sends their sewage to Broward County got the same increase?
Proportional to their flow and ownership of the plant, yes.
Okay, right, okay, very good. Yeah, so it is a bill that we have to pay, and Commissioner Fessick, on your idea to somehow, yeah, be prepared for the next time. It's a good idea, but it's, outside of the needed reserves that we should have as a responsible entity, just like we have needed reserves that we have as a responsible city in our enterprise fund. We have those other reserves for that. But, you know, once we get to that level, then I think that the people ought to keep their own dollars. We shouldn't be banking them except for the responsible reserves. It's, you know, when an increase comes up, as unpleasant as it is, because look, I pay a sewage bill too, just like everybody else up here. Nobody likes this, but the bills have to be paid. All right, very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik?
No.
Commissioner Perkins?
No.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier?
Yes.
Mayor Harton?
Yes. Item 23 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute a third amendment to the license agreement between the City of Pompano Beach and ProServe Concepts LLC, providing services as the head tennis professional for the Pompano Beach Tennis Center, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Mr. Boudreau.
Good evening, Mark Boudreau, Recreation Director. So ProServe Concepts was the approved vendor for RFP 3818 for the head tennis professional solicitation and began providing services March of 2019. The terms of the agreement specified 5 years with the option to renew for an additional 2 periods of 1 year, and this is the final year of that renewal period. They handle all the tennis professionals, the lessons, leagues, socials, tournaments, pro shop, clinics, and junior camps, including summer, spring break, and winter camps. The Tennis Center currently has 323 memberships comprised of child, adult, and family offerings. ProServe receives 80% of the gross revenues from all the programs and lessons, and the city receives 20%. They also receive 90% of the gross revenues from the pro shop, and the city receives 10%. Last year, the city received about $128,000 in revenue from the combined 80-20 and 90-10 splits. Simply, when they do well, we do well. That concludes my comments.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns?
Yes. Mayor.
Yes, Commissioner Perkins.
Mark, we've discussed this and talked about this years ago. As you probably already know, we're working on the youth center there at Mitchell Moore Annex. And next to it, I think Dr. Good has been assisting me with redoing the tennis courts.
Correct.
And I think I brought this to your attention before to see what we can work out with this tennis coach to make sure he can help some of the kids with this new program that's coming up. Is that something we can do? I know it has nothing to do with this item, but I've mentioned this to you before. And I'm hoping, well, I think the project should be done in the next 4 to 5 months, the most.
And yes, ma'am, and I would refresh your memory. We did, in fact, do that before, so if you wish to do that again, we can do that again.
Well, I'm not sure, I know the facility will be open in a few months, but I'm not quite sure whether the tennis courts have been upgraded, but they are supposed to be. So is this
They
something
are.
that you could work with Dr. Good with as she moves along with that project?
We're almost ready to open those tennis courts. There's tennis courts and pickleball.
Yeah, and I think we're supposed to remove one tennis court and I think make it into pickleball and the rest will be all tennis. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Very good. Further commission discussion, Vice Mayor?
We're going to talk about tennis courts. I hear a lot about tennis and the loss of tennis courts to pickleball and at McNabb Park. So the tennis courts by Pompano High need some attention, and we routinely get emails on that. So let's figure out a way to work on that too. Thanks.
One step ahead of you, Commissioner. We're working on that.
Perfect.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier?
Yes.
Mayor Hart?
Yes. Very good. That takes us up, ends our regular agenda, takes us up to additional audience to be heard. Do we have folks still signed up, Kervin?
Yes, I have 4 remaining speakers. and
Very
I'll
good.
call their names shortly. First speaker, Tangela Jackson, followed by Tamara Smith, followed by Jocelyn Jackson.
I'm Tangela Jackson Brown, 871 Northwest 6th Avenue, Pompano Beach, Florida. I came here today because I support the downtown area that you guys are doing. And only thing I can say is that please make it elderly friendly. So while my mom is here in her retirement, so she can really enjoy herself. She's coming from Orlando, and y'all know that's the vacation capital of the world. So, but I do applaud y'all on the changes that y'all are making, and I support it.
Very good. Thank you for that. And hopefully there'll be lots of open space there for your mom to enjoy also. Next speaker.
Tamara Smith.
Hello, my address is 233 Northeast 26th Street. I'm just here to let you know that I support the downtown project. I'm the owner of Sweet Sensation Mini Donuts, so I look forward to it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And thank you all for staying until the end of the meeting. Sorry, but that's... Next speaker.
Jocelyn Jackson. I would like to say I had a pleasure to know the iconic Mr. Ralph Grissett. I spent the last 7 months of 2024 with him. And thank you, Mayor, for attending the funeral. It was beautiful. Also, thanks to you, too, Commissioner Perkins, for attending the funeral. It was a beautiful funeral. And I just want to say, I'm really, really gonna miss that guy. I really am. Also, I held a meeting at EPAT Larkins. At that time, Commissioner Fournier and Commissioner Fezzik had their meeting also, which was the 22nd. And I wasn't feeling that well, so I didn't cancel my meeting. It was held at EPAT Larkins from 6 to 8, and it was a community meeting. It was very, very, very knowledgeable with the different programs that we do have in the city. I want to thank Alex Goldstein. He was there, also representing the housing aspect of it for the first time home buyers programs. It was a lot of questions he was able to answer for the residents, which was very nice. Also, we had Kelvin, the fire department. He also showed up, but he had to leave. But he also shared some things with us, with the residents as well, and left some of the cards. And we had a school board representative, Rachel Daly. She spoke on all the services that the school board provides, that the residents can partake in it, certain rentals that will be available to the residents, which we didn't have any knowledge of as well. And we also had a young lady there who worked for UPS over 37 years. She's the first African-American female to be a feeder driver. And guess what? It's my childhood friend. So she spoke about that and spoke about, the opportunities that UPS provide when you have children, when they graduate. Some of them don't want to go to college, but, just take advantage of another career option. So she was there, and I'm looking forward to have another meeting, a community meeting, because I think it's very important that we give all the knowledge as we can to the residents, because sometimes, like some of the residents came up and spoke about, some of our elderly people, they're not computer savvy. So however we get the information out, it doesn't matter. The dais respectfully, but if we have people in the community willing to share that information with the residents, we applaud that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next speaker.
Delvin King. Devin King, final call.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I couldn't hear you. No, ma'am. I'm sorry. We don't do that. No. No. Sorry.
That concludes audience to be heard.
Very good. All right, that takes care of that. Our next scheduled meetings, we've got January 29th, 2025 at 2 p.m., a City Commission workshop. So then we have February 11th, 2025 at 1 p.m., a regular City Commission meeting, and then February 25th, 2025 at 6 p.m., regular City Commission meeting. That takes us up to reports. Mr. Harrison.
Yes, sir. Believe it or not, we have a utilities award. Nate, come on up and tell the commission what you have. List out of those 14 cities that were on that graph.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to publicly commend Randy and Nate on the great job that they do running the utilities.
Yes, seriously, thank you. Thank you, guys. It makes a difference, it really does.
Nathaniel Watson, Utilities Field Superintendent, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission. Of course, with all the awards that we bring before you, we could not do this without the support of this body and with Mr. Greg Harrison, the Assistant City Managers, and helping us to do the very best that we can, to bring the very best that we can. The award that's before you is from the Works Association. It's an international outfit, and it recognized us for the second time with regard to having an outstanding water distribution system.
Wow.
They take a look at what we do with regard to maintaining and operating the system and how we manage it. So this is the second time that we've been honored with this, and we bring it before you. So thank you so much.
Very nice. Congratulations. That's fantastic news. And you know, it's funny, but in years gone by, we would probably have, that would probably be in the Sun Sentinel or something. And it's a shame that we can't get it out there more easily, but that's great news. And it truly is a testament to what you all do day in and day out, and nights, weekends, holidays. I mean, you guys are always there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep, appreciate it.
Thank you, Nate. That concludes my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Good report, thank you. Takes us up to City Attorney, Mr. Berman.
Thank you, Mayor. No report. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Okay, very good, thank you. City Clerk, Mr. Alfred.
Yes, I wanted to touch on a change that we're proposing to do with the commissioner appointments, specifically the appointments of each commissioner to the boards that they're required to provide appointees. In an effort to streamline it, we're looking into consolidating the appointments. As you can see with tonight's agenda, we had quite a few individual appointments listed there. So we're looking to consolidate them into one resolution. Clearly listing, it's not like we're not making clear. It's going to be clearly listing the appointments which are made to the individual boards, which is that it's going to be listed on one resolution. And then by accessing that resolution, you're clearly seeing who's being appointed to what board. This is a continuation of our efforts to further improve the advisory board appointments and how we go about doing that, completing that process. So I just wanted to introduce that change, and as appointments are coming in, you'll clearly see that it's part of one resolution as opposed to being broken down the way it is now. If there's any comments, I'm open to.
Very good. Saves paperwork. That makes sense.
Yes, they do.
They got to get appointed anyway. Very
Yes.
good. Thank you.
Okay.
Any comments from the commission on Curtin's? No? Very good. Thank you, Curtin. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Moves on to City Commission. Commissioner Fasick.
Okay, well, I have a quick question related to, I've gotten a lot of questions lately about the state of our roads and the paving projects, and I know that it is also in the capital improvement plan. And because it's just come up so frequently, I was just wondering if there was a timeline that where we could begin the discussion of sidewalks, speed humps, et cetera, rather than on a one-on-one basis to save everybody time and effort. If we could either do it by district or have some sort of plan that's shared with residents, because there are many people who are still asking, we know it's coming, but we're not sure when, and we would like to make sure that we communicate that effectively to them. So I would just ask that that be something that.
Are you looking for the road repaving schedule, or
Yes.
because you were talking about speed humps there also?
Well, yes. So road repaving, but obviously when you're installing this, if you're repaving the entire road, it would make sense at that time to either add humps where they're designated, so that we can streamline the process and not have to go back and forth
Right.
on a case-by-case basis.
Because I know that Rob does he's got a schedule that shows where the paving is going to be taking place throughout the city.
Right.
At least that.
I know that that's something that I just wanted to bring it to the attention, just to try to streamline that process even further and give people an actual date or quarter, if we can, that they can expect those projects to start in each neighborhood or in each area as we're doing them. The other thing I would like to ask is, I was a little bit surprised that at the beginning of the McNabb House conversation, we had individual meetings with staff and the partners, and I asked some very specific questions related to costs incurred, and it was then very concerning and confusing to me that in the first 5 minutes of the presentation that was given to the public, the first two items that I was told directly, I didn't make those numbers up out of the air. They were then corrected. So for all clarity, I would just like to ask, if at all possible, Nguyen, could you please tell me exactly the question I asked you before? Can you please state for me what the total expenditures to date for every expense related to this McNabb House project and gardens, the whole thing, that we have spent to date?
Good evening, Nguyen Trans Area Director. That's not the first time we've been asked that. The Pelican asked us that, including the move. All the permitting, everything to date was $2.1 million. That includes the new roof on the house, the porch repair, the basement, the waterproofing the basement, everything to date, including the move with permits and site plan, is $2.1 million.
Does that include grant spending for through the grant money or funding?
We have not spent any of the grant money, no.
Okay.
Or any match. So when you asked us, spent to date, $2.1 million.
Okay. The second part of that, to follow up, is what is the budget for 2025?
2025 includes a bond in there of $22.5 million, I believe.
Okay.
And that was in that budget that was approved.
Okay. It was also, I was told.
McNabb. So if you're looking for the overall budget, I don't have all the figures on all the projects, but specifically for McNabb is that.
Does that also include, just for clarity's sake, does that also include all of the architects, the planners, the everything? Is that all included in that $2.1 million?
You said spent to date.
To date.
To date is $2.1 million.
Okay. That was not what I was told in our meeting. I believe you said 6.1, and then you said that there was an additional $7 million that was set aside and part of the capital improvement.
Set aside for the project, but you asked spent to date.
Right. No, that was the first question.
To date, when you asked, is $2.1 million.
Okay. But the second portion of the question that I asked you in our meeting was, to date, you said 6.1. So if there was confusion, I'll let you have it. The second part of that was, we are anticipating spending over $7 million this year, which is in our fund, or at least it's set aside for this year as part of our budget. And on top of that, we are proposing to loan, or basically take out a loan for an additional 23.2.
The rollover for the McNabb budgeted is about $7 million. Do we intend to spend all that? No. I mean, it's all going to the project. We intend to bond for 22.5.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And then, Mr. Harrison, and thank you very much. I'm done. You don't have to answer any more questions.
So I'm sorry if there's any confusion, but when people ask me spent to date is what we spent to date.
Great, thank you. Mr. Harrison, I wanted to just quickly address, and I appreciate the fact that there was an emergency that came up, and the paperwork we had asked for related to the contracts and consultants and the additional follow-up emails that I had asked for. I appreciate that there was I appreciate the email, sorry, and I understand that there's a delay. However, I would like to request that in the future, we have a timeline that is acceptable for delivery of basic information, especially when we have so many hardworking staff that it should be pretty much easily accessible to know what it is, where our contracts are, or where these things are allocated. And so I would just like to respectfully request that moving forward, we move up the timeline to making sure that there's not a 2-week period of time that goes by to get information that I have had residents asking me questions about. And so it's difficult for me to field questions when they say, well, you're there. Why, it's a simple question, why can't you get the information? And for the most part, I want to say that I thank you very much, because for the most part, many things I do get very quickly. So I want to preface it with that as well. But I would just like to see that when we do these things and we have all these things going on, we ask for things on the dais, that we get the information that we ask for in a timely manner.
Most certainly. I would also like to ask if you ask for something, then we don't have 2 or 3 others asking for different things simultaneous with that. If we tell you one thing on getting an answer to a question, that's fine. But then we have others who compound that and change that timeline. So we can't control that.
Okay. I would like to ask then, rather than compound it, that perhaps rather than everybody ask a bunch of different questions or have you running around changing the timeline or changing whatever, anything that anybody else asks for any agenda item, for clarity's sake, so we're all on the same page, that we all receive the exact same information. You could just bundle it together where you just all receive the exact same thing. Because is that something that would be possible?
Sure.
Thank you. The last thing I have is just related to development, and I know we're having our meeting tomorrow, and I would appreciate and ask that if anybody who is concerned with things that are happening in District 1 or downtown, I know that there has been a lot of concern about these overlay districts or understanding what the density means, what things are allowed, parking restrictions, and it is complicated, but it is very informative. So if you would like to learn more about that process, I would invite you to come to our workshop, because you can learn along with everybody else, and it would be very informative for residents to understand what we are doing and how we're doing it. I think, Mr. Harrison, that one other thing related to the same, I'm sorry to go back to the contracts. Can I expect that paperwork by 7 o'clock tomorrow night? The rest, rather than compounding things, I think you said by end of business day tomorrow. I just want to make sure that that's clarified.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. That concludes my report.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, let me just say, I think the question was asked, why did we wait or cancel the proclamation tonight for the Black History? That was by my request, because to cancel the proclamation Black History Month for today. I wanted it to be issued in the month of February. That was the only issue. So today is just, well, we're almost there, but I wanted it to be issued in the month of February. Okay. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, ma'am.
At the last meeting, I had requested some information from the city and the CRA regarding the consultants' professional services. And I have something from the CRA, but I didn't receive anything from the city. Was that sent?
You'll get that before 7 p.m. tomorrow night.
No. Wait. Back up. Let's back up. This came as a request from the last meeting. Okay, so I received this from CRA with the consultants, and this is not even what I asked for, because I asked for the whole year of 2024. And I was given here October, November, December 2024 from Ms. Vasquez. And it's listing everything in those 3 months. It did not list anything as far as names, positions, income, nothing I asked for. So would it help you if I put it in an email so that you could better understand this, to pass it along to staff to
Immensely.
request?
Immensely. Yes, ma'am. Sure would.
Okay, yeah, because when I received this, I thought this was just something thrown together.
You
But-
can also call me and talk to me through the week. I mean, I'm
Sure, and
I'm
you can
here
talk
and
to me
there,
as well.
everywhere.
So I requested 2024, the entire year, but let's go ahead and do 2023 and 24 for the consultants, for the CRA, and for the city. And I would like to have that by the close of Thursday, the close of the business day Thursday.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. The next, I wanted to say the Jazz Fest this weekend was really nice. Everybody enjoyed it. So I remember seeing everybody there. I didn't see you, Mayor, but we were there. You were probably there the first night, right?
I was there both nights.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we had fun. It was very nice. Very nice. Really good job, Culture Arts. Also, Mark Boudreau. I received a email from, I think her name is Tawana Thomas. And she brought up some good suggestions as to what we can do with Jackson Park, right there in front of Apollo Park. So I'd like to follow through on that. I don't know whether he's still here. I don't see him. But anyway, yeah.
He's here.
I'd like to follow up on that because she brought up some good ideas as to what we can do with that park. There's a lot of land there. So please, let's get in contact with each other and see what we can do to make improvements there. Let's see what else. I wanted to ask the police chief, if he would come up and give an update on the shot spotter. Where are we with it? Are we getting a new one? Do we have something else in place? Can you just give me an update on that? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Dave Elwood, Police Chief. Yes, Commissioner, we're piloting a gunshot detection program. We have a schedule for a tour for you this Thursday at 4
Yes, we do.
o'clock. We're going to go through all the questions about that and explain. I think we have a tour schedule for every commissioner. The city manager just recently had a tour of it, and we were very excited about it. It's in the northwest section. It's not Shot Spotter. It's a new program that we
But
think.
it does detect gunfire.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're very excited about it. We're in the pilot stage of it where we're evaluating it. We're going to evaluate it over about a 4-month period.
Okay.
And
great.
we'll get back to everybody on the results of it.
Thank you. So that's a question I'm asked a lot. So thank you for answering that, and I look forward to meeting with you about that so I can
Thank
be
you.
more informed on that.
Looking forward to it as well.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, and the other thing I think you mentioned, so many people are discouraged that the MLK March was canceled because of the weather or the water or whatever. And myself and just a few other people are trying to put together a Black History Parade to acknowledge the history, the rich history we have in the Northwest community. So we're trying to put something together for February 17th, which is a federal holiday. So I would love it if the city manager and staff would work on it with me to kind of move it along a little bit faster. So again, it's not going to be a march, but if you like to march, you can. But it's going to be a parade to acknowledge. I see somebody over there in BSO shaking their heads. We can't do another one. So, but anyway, I think the community will be, really pleased with that, to kind of substitute the march that was canceled. And the parade will go on based on the weather, I guess, again, right? Okay, thank you, and that's it.
Very good. All right, Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
No report.
Very good. Commissioner Smith.
Short report. I wanted to report on anything that I heard tonight that was positive at our meeting. I thought we had a great meeting, but the two positive things that I got out of it was anything pickleball is positive, and the monies that Pompano is able to save our residents on flood insurance premiums to share that $1 million among all our residents that are stuck in those flood zones is just phenomenal. BSO December crime report, looking at the year 23 compared to the year 24. District 5, our crime was down 12%.
Hey.
Citywide, it was down 4%. That is wonderful. Great job, BSO.
Yay.
Yeah, good.
It's positive.
Yes. In District 5, we've had reports, and I said this last meeting, we've had reports of coyotes, and I'm sure other areas have had coyotes running around too. And if you'd like, you're welcome to come February 3rd to the Herb Skolnick Community Center at 7 o'clock. And our speaker will be Austin Peak with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. And we're going to be talking about living with wildlife. And I'm sure he's going to probably put in other animals other than coyotes, because we do have other wildlife in Pompano Beach, raccoons and alligators and such. But come join us February 3rd. The McNabb House presentation was standing room only, and it was a wonderful, positive feeling in that room. So all the residents that came out, thank you for being there, and great job on the presentation and getting the questions asked. I'm going to be participating in Tiger Trails Festival 5K Run Walk. I'll be walking, so anybody wants to come walk with me, please join me. And I'd like to end with a positive quote, and since we had Martin Luther King Day last week, I'm going to quote from him. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Have a great week.
Very good. Thank you for that. Vice Mayor Fournier.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. That was very uplifting. I have some ideas that I want to talk with my colleagues about. So I have also been frustrated at not getting the data requested, along with the procurement changes that have happened and what's been probably signed in the last year. We also have 2 new commissioners up here, and we are, I believe, our budget director is leaving. So I think it's become clear that we also have a lot of questions about the financial data and want to dig into what's going on, that with an almost $500 million budget, that we need to reinstate our budget review committee. I think it's time to do that. I mean, it's someone that we would appoint to a committee. It's another set of eyes to help us as commissioners to interface with the city, to ask questions, to bounce ideas off of, to understand their perspective. So we had a resolution back in 2008. This committee was established, and I think it would be a good idea and a good time right now for us to reestablish that. So I'd like to make a motion to reestablish the Budget Review Committee based on the 2008 resolution. Each member would appoint someone to the committee. And there's a section on their mandates and duties. We could obviously look at that and see if it has changed, but with the same basic structure. So
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and
I'm sorry. State your motion again.
I'd like to make a motion to reinstate the Budget Review Committee.
and so it's been moved and seconded.
Second, official.
Just a question on Mr. Berman. Mr. Berman, would it be, and just checking, would we be reinstating or creating a budget review? I mean,
I think it was terminated, if my recollection. I would prefer, if there's a positive vote, to bring you back a resolution.
Right.
So we can set the terms, conditions, and how you're going to appoint people to that committee. So.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to bring back a resolution to create a Budget Review Committee.
yeah.
Second.
Seconded. Moved and seconded to bring back a resolution to create a budget review committee. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Well, this is a public meeting. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward.
Chandra King, it's late and I'm hungry, but I totally concur with Commissioner Fournier's suggestion that we have an additional set of eyes to review our very large budget. I think some things have slipped through the cracks, and I'd just like to see that accountability and extra transparency. Thank you.
Very good. Further input from the public? Please come forward. Anybody else?
Jackie Moreland, I live at the same address I repeated 4 or 5 times before. I agree, this city has a large budget, and I just want to see the fairness and equity for all districts. And sometimes when you guys are up, where you all are up discussing it, it's like we're relying on you to know certain things and have certain things in a early enough time to review and let us know. But sometimes it sounds like you all don't know what's up or what's down or what money's for what. So if there's another set of eyes or a board that can help, because I want to see every district get what they need and what's the most important for their district, and who knows that better than the commissioners that represent that district. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Further public input? Seeing none, public input closed. Now, commission discussion.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Perkins, and I've got Commissioner Fessick.
Okay, so I think I brought this up to form this committee about 2 years ago, I think it was, and I think we were 4-2 at the time. So of course, what I would like for staff to do is basically go back and do your research, because I remember the Budget Review Board very, very well back in the day. And I do remember why the board was discontinued. And we need to make sure, if we form this board, that does not happen again. So with that, I would support it.
Very good. Commissioner Fessick? Was that it, Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Fessick?
So I have mentioned many times that I am not a finance specialist, and with such a complex budget and with so many wheels in motion, I would welcome the opportunity to have a review committee or a review board be able to fully explain and or understand, or somewhere to go to for questions that won't take up city staff's time and effort. If that sometimes, I feel bad sometimes, and I know that they do the best they can, but I feel badly sometimes that asking some questions that I just need further clarification on. But it is my duty, but at the same time, I think the right thing to do is to have a bunch of very professional, finance-minded individuals that could help guide us to making sure that we are making responsible decisions with all of our money, and helping to guide us so that we can streamline. Again, I'm into streamlining. So we can streamline things where we have all the information we need to make those decisions as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Well, I'll chime in. I'm not going to support it. I think any kind of budget review that is necessary by this commission, we have got, very, very qualified staff members that are more than happy to sit with any one of these commissioners that are up here and the mayor and explain in infinite detail anything that you don't understand or may want further information on. Now, the Budget Review Committee that we've had previously, it winds up sapping staff time. Very rarely did it accomplish anything positive towards the dissemination of information about the budget.
That's your opinion.
This is I'm talking. I know. Yes. Of course it's my opinion. I'm the one who's saying it.
Keep going.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. I don't claim to speak your opinion. This is mine. So it just it didn't accomplish anything worthy, or very little worthy in my mind, and staff sucked a lot of staff time. And Commissioner, can I speak?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't stop.
Well, I'd appreciate it not being interrupted.
Don't let me bother you. Keep going.
You don't bother me. So yeah, I'm not going to support it. I think it would the resources are there. If you want questions answered, the people to answer them are our budget folks, our city manager, the finance folks. They are more than willing to answer any kind of questions, and to expect and this is no insult to anybody, but to expect a volunteer group to spend the amount of time on a yearly basis that it would take to really digest the city's budget to the infinite detail that our staff does, I think that's asking a lot of a volunteer staff. Not to mention the fact that we do, I mean, our budget is developed by the city manager, the finance department, the budget folks. It's also reviewed by us. It's also reviewed by outside agencies. We get an independent audit done. We have an internal auditor that looks at our finances. So there's a lot of oversight already on our finances. Now, some people may not agree with the spending limits. Some people may not agree with the spending allocations. But that's why we have a group that votes on things as a group. And you don't always get what you want. So that's just the way it goes with a group such as the City Commission. So anyway, I'm not going to support it, but that's just me. That's my opinion.
Yes, great.
Further commission discussion.
Yes, if you
Commissioner Perkins.
want to know why the board was dismissed or deleted or whatever, just give me a call. I'll be happy to share it.
Very good.
The truth.
Further commission discussion. I've got Vice Mayor Fournier. Sure.
Yeah, saying that they accomplish very little. There's some boards here that don't meet regularly, and we still keep those. So it's there's different effectiveness of different boards, but the responsibilities were to provide taxpayer perspectives and development of that. Review projections regarding expenditures, advise the city on service levels and priorities. So these are things that we do, but getting someone else to have another voice and another look at things, I do not think it can hurt when it is the most important thing we are doing, which is spending people's money. So I'm sure the Parks and Rec Board is time consuming to Mark and Scott and everyone. But we consider it valuable because it's perspective and it's inclusion of the people and their opinions, and we need that help. I also want to say to you that if you ever want to lead this body, you're going to have to figure out a way to compromise at some point. Yes. You're going to have to figure it out if you want to lead. So instead of always opposing ideas, you're going to have to figure that one out, or we're going to be stuck here.
I'm not sure I'm not sure who that was directed at, but.
That was at you, Mayor.
Oh, very good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That was advice to you.
Very good.
That if you are the leader of this body, I thought you would know that when I said if you want to lead this body, as in the mayor.
I didn't know who you were speaking to, Commissioner.
I'm looking at you.
Vice
I'm
Mayor.
looking at you, Mayor.
Apologize, Vice Mayor.
I'm looking at you. If you want to lead this body, at some point you're going to have to kind of get off of whatever pedestal and actually come talk to us.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I appreciate that. And I'd just like to point out, I was elected to lead this body. Thank you. By the residents of this city. Overwhelmingly, in every district in this city, I got more votes than the commissioners did. Thank you, Vice.
This isn't about being that you weren't elected. It's about how this commission is functioning. It's about that right now, I think. So.
Certainly. Very good. Further commission discussion on the motion. Commissioner Smith.
And I just want to ask, we had a budget review committee, and then we terminated it. How long ago did we terminate it? How long was it in existence, do you know? And why did we terminate?
What's the resolution starting at? I would say about 15.
Probably about 15 to 20 years ago.
About 15, 20.
I think it was before, if you're asking me, I'm sorry, you're looking at
The resolution is from 2008, so it was formed in 2008. So I don't know when it was terminated, but it was established in 2008. I wonder,
Do you know
you
when
support it at that time, Mayor?
Do you know when it was terminated, Mr. Berman?
Not off the top of my head, no, I do not, respectfully.
Or why?
I believe it was unpopular at the time. That's all I'll say at this point.
All right.
Sounds like there's a story.
All right.
I guess you could call Commissioner Perkins. She could fill you in. Further commission discussion.
Mayor, with your permission, I will get back to you with when it was terminated. I'll work with the clerk and get you that information. I don't have it this evening.
Sure. Okay, further commission discussion on the motion. Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton?
No.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
No. Very good. Vice Mayor, you've got the floor.
Thank you. Since our last meeting, it has also become clear, even though we don't have the contracts, that the city does have multiple consulting and professional service contracts with people who routinely come up in here in the chambers and speak and disparage certain commissioners personally, but not others, and champion certain projects. And I was really surprised to learn that. And I found it a little bit concerning. So I also find it concerning that the city is paying for that, because in all of the meetings with Roca, they stood there as the face of promising to do community outreach. So my expectation was that they would be paying the bill for some of the community outreach. So if once we get this information that we're supposed to get tomorrow, if it does turn out that we are paying for all the community outreach, I would like to revisit Roca's responsibility for doing some of that, since I know they stood there and promised the community that they would be doing that outreach. And then I also, if we really want community outreach, so there's a couple people who come here and speak, but to be honest, Mike Skaversky knows the community better than anyone. He's in McNair Park. He's lived here forever. He goes to Annie Adderley Park. I don't know anyone who comes to these meetings regularly and actually spends more time in the Northwest community and lives in Pompano, because the other contractors we've hired don't have Pompano addresses. So did you consider a contract with Mike Skaversky to do community outreach? Was it ever considered, since he has been around for years and is always, Mr. Harrison, was that ever considered? Or?
Not as far as I know, no. I don't know that Mr. Swirsky's ever applied for anything.
Was there an application or a process out for people to apply for this role as community outreach?
Ladies and gentlemen, please.
Well, I mean, that is the question. What was the process? How were certain people selected but not others, when we ended up with people who don't live in Pompano but routinely come up and speak disparagingly against a handful of commissioners? So I don't know what the criteria is, but maybe you can put together something on what the criteria is to get one of these consulting contracts for community outreach, so that people have the opportunity to be involved. That's, I mean, we can talk about procurement. I wasn't really planning on this, but it came up again tonight, and I think we're going to keep running into this problem with this 75,000 going up to 200,000, and all of these contracts in between that Mr. Harrison and the mayor know about and sign, but the rest of us don't really know. So at a minimum, I would like every contract, when they're signed, between 75,000 and 200, at least to a copy of it sent to us. And I think we need to revisit that procurement threshold of 200,000, because it is out of line with other cities, and it is going to, I think, continue to be a problem like it was tonight with even getting basic financing done for equipment, when we feel like we're then giving all this permission to go spend up to 200,000 without us even knowing, what the process is. So I would like to make a motion to bring back an amendment to the ordinance that changes the spending threshold from 200,000 to 75,000. Is that the proper way to say it, Mr. Berman? It was in section 2B.
You got a second with Commissioner Perkins. Moved in second. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. I didn't see anybody move. If anybody from the public wants to speak, please come forward. On the motion, please come forward.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Pastor Dr. Sherry Abram of District 4, and I am so glad to be here. I am one that is in agreement with, I'll call you Sister Allison. And the reason is, it's the right thing to do. If I ask myself, what would Jesus do? That's what he would do. Because there are many grants, there are other monies, there are businesses, small businesses, large corporations that have an inequity been given services, contracts, and bids. So we need to make sure if we have an oversight, and City Manager Harrison and myself and everyone in the room, it's a huge room of improvement in our jobs. So I'll start with my own. As a resident at 704 Northwest 10th Avenue, it's important that we look at every penny. As a 42-year educator in teaching math, money was one of the subjects. So we need to pay attention to what we're doing, how we're doing it, who we're doing it to. The end.
Very good. Further input from the public?
You know, this gets kind of taxing after a while to just constantly come and Mayor, act like we're begging for what should be done right, fair, and equitable, and I'm not going to stop saying it. I'm born and raised in Pompano. Liberty Park, 2060 Northwest 6th Avenue. From there, my parents moved to 124 Northwest 15th Street. I own a home in Canal Point, 1526 Northwest 7th Lane. And every time we come up here, we have to beg and to plead. We don't live in a democracy, and sometimes you act like we do. So there should be a bottom of where these people should have when they're coming in as consultants, or you're going to contract work out to them. There should be a bottom and there should be a ceiling. We shouldn't be able to do whatever we want to do with city money. And we shouldn't be made to feel like, because we're asking something that's different from you, that we can't have our voices heard. And it angers me, and not in a bad way, but it hurts to always come up here and beg and plead for what should be done right. We need to see, you say we don't need a review board to look at the money. You all sound like you don't know what you're doing with the money to begin with, and we're trying to follow you and understand you, and you guys don't know what's in the budget. So I think there should be a bottom and there should be a ceiling, and everybody needs to look at what needs to be done. And if you want an advocate, I'll do it for free. I'll be retired in a year. You don't have to pay me for anything. I love Pompano. And I'm going to do it because the residents need it. I don't need a dime. 41 years in my career, 36 years next year, I retire from Broward County School Board. I'm able to take care of myself. I don't need anything under the table. I do it for the love of my community and for what's right under the eyesight of God. Y'all take this pledge every day. You pray before every meeting. Who are you praying to? Who are you pledging to? Because what's right is right. What's fair is fair.
Very good. Thank you for that. Next, further input from the public. Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. On the motion, Commissioner Fessick.
One of the biggest issues that we have had as a city is the lack of information, feeling as though it is very transparent to residents. The frustration is further compounded by when we're sitting up here in these roles and we are still having issues and having trouble getting information. I agree that we need to look at every penny. I would like to address Commissioner Sagerson-Eaton earlier tonight. You mentioned that Vice Mayor Fournier was suggesting something nefarious, and I want to make sure that on my end, at least for me, I can't speak for her, but for me, asking for transparency and asking for information that is coming out of our tax roll, that is coming out of our collective bucket that we are responsible for stewarding. It is not something nefarious, but what is concerning is the lack of support for the transparency to occur in the first place. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion.
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Thank you. Yeah, I am not against transparency. 400, $500 million is what the city budget is. I don't think you understand the gravity or the weight of that. To micromanage a staff, to find out, again, yes, it is. It does appear that you have absolutely no trust, and same thing with the vice mayor, no trust and no respect, or no confidence, I should say, in what our staff does.
Who's she talking to?
And when we went through this article, yeah, please don't interrupt me, you know, and you may think it's funny, but I don't think it's funny. We went through this issue about the procurement. It was pointed out how much money this saves our taxpayers this year, every year, because we go out and we spent hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars on RFQs, et cetera. And sometimes we don't get any bidders. It's just an inefficient way to do business. And, you know, I'm not going to support this again. This is the third time this was done, a prior commission. And, you know, I don't like everything that prior commissions have done, but I have to live with them. I have to live with the overlay districts. I have to live with the transportation corridors that have been enacted and with the rights that have been vested in those properties. I can't go back and change them, so I don't even know what the heck we're going to do about it tomorrow, but I'm up for the discussion. And, you know, I just want to say for the record, I've been following government for many more years than I think you have, judging by the questions that you have asked, like, you know, pretty basically. And someone did tell me when I first got into it 25 years ago, you have to learn a lot of three-letter words, and MPO. I'll tell you how you can remember what it means. MOUSE. Any rate, and I want to say one other thing too, because I get every time we have some of the same people coming up and saying, oh, you don't care about our schools. We never see you doing anything. You should put more money into schools. Well, folks, the fact of the matter is everybody pays taxes to the school board. Now, I don't even think it's legal that we can take ad valorem residential taxes that we get from our citizens and reallocate them and give them to the school board. We cannot do that unless the residents say, oh yeah, take more of our money from our budget where we fix the roads and fill the potholes and run the parks. Let's take some more of that and give it to the schools. So where are we going to cut? So, I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't think people understand the realities. And don't tell me I'm against transparency. That's a mischaracterization, and I'm not voting to go back to where we were, period.
Very good, okay.
Respond.
Very good. Commissioner Fessick, go ahead.
So I want to make sure that I make it very clear that I appreciate that you have had more experience than me. You are also slightly older than I am, and I appreciate that I was being kind. And I don't understand the concept between the mouse thing or whatever, but okay. You said mouse. You spelled mouse. Correct. That spells mouse.
What it means.
Okay,
Since you're new to this.
I'm not asking for, and nor did I ask for a definition. I have every confidence in the majority of our staff. I want to make sure that's also very clear. We have a lot of very intelligent people, and I think that by taking a look at how we're spending money, that is our responsibility. And by doing so, we can cut excess spending if at all necessary, and then
Ladies and gentlemen, please let the commissioner speak. Ladies and gentlemen, please let the commissioner speak. Let's finish this.
we can cut excess spending and then give resources that we're currently possibly wasting to invest back into our city and the staff that they so desperately need in so many departments as a growing city. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking questions. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for transparency, and I don't think there's anything wrong with looking or having professionals or a board look at something a second time. And while I appreciate that we have hired consultants left, right, and sideways, I can't speak to how much we've spent because I don't have that information yet. But it is not micromanaging, it's asking for accountability, and our residents as a whole of the city of Pompano Beach deserve that at the minimum. Thank you.
Commissioner Perkins? Please, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it's almost 10 o'clock. It's time to go home. We're ready.
Further commission discussion? Oops, I've got Vice Mayor.
Quickly. This isn't about like debunking something or like trying to, any conspiracy theory, nefarious acts. This is about us being able to do our job effectively and make sure that we understand where taxpayer dollars are going and that we're spending them is to get the most utility that we can for the taxpayers. And if we don't need those dollars, to give them back to people. And that is our job. So we need the information to do that. And I want to be clear about the spending threshold. So it was sold to us as this is what the state allows because the state changed it. But other cities near here have lower thresholds than we had before for the most part. So Coral Springs is at 75,000, Dania's 50, Deerfield is 30, Fort Lauderdale's 25,000. Ours is an outlier. We are 200,000 that we don't see those contracts. We are an outlier. There's Tamarack 65, Miramar 75, Margate's 50. We are the outlier around here at 200,000. So this is just section, and this does not impact to Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton since she's back. I'm not talking about changes to any of the construction projects or the bid packages. I'm talking about 6 characters in section 2B where it says, in addition to the purchases described in subsection 1 above, the General Services Director or designee shall have the authority to approve all other purchases in an amount of less than $200,000 with the concurrence of the city manager, changing that back to $75,000. It does not change anything that Tammy is doing that is hopefully saving the engineering department money. It does not impact that. So that is, the motion is just to change this one section. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Commissioner Smith.
Just have one quick statement. We went over this a couple meetings ago, and those that want to review those contracts that have happened since then, you haven't had an opportunity to do that. I would suggest that you take that opportunity and then revisit this subject based upon what you find in your review.
Very good, Commissioner, Vice Mayor Fournier.
We can certainly do that, but I think it is creating issues like it created with us voting down the lease agreement, which then is going to create more work and struggles for the finance department to figure out how to finance those things. So all of these other things that the city needs to get done are kind of seem to be on hold while we're waiting for this information. And in the end, we're just asking to bring back an ordinance change, so we would still have 2 more meetings to vote on it. So if we get all the information tomorrow and we don't think it's a problem, then we can not vote for the ordinance. So I just don't think there's any harm in getting it on an agenda so we can talk about it, and we will have the information by then. So we will have time to digest it, but we'll at least have it on an agenda to discuss. And I do think it is creating problems with there's other agenda items that are going down as collateral damage to that right now.
Further commission discussion on the motion. Commissioner Perkins?
Good.
Okay, very good. No further commission discussion. Let's go ahead and call the roll on the motion.
Commissioner Fezzik,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton,
No.
Commissioner Smith,
No.
Vice Mayor Fournier,
Yes.
Mayor Harton.
Once again, no. Vice Mayor, you got the floor.
That is the end of my report. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Well, first off, just want to say, hey, great job with Jazz Fest. It was out of the park. It was the weather was a little dicey, but still there was a great crowd that enjoyed everything. Once again, it's a signature event in Pompano Beach. Fantastic job. Thank you, everyone who was involved in that. Also, I just want to, we've gotten a lot of flack about the canceling of the MLK parade that took place, after we were there. I mean, I was there, Commissioner Perkins was there, Commissioner Smith, you were there, Vice Mayor, you were there. A bunch of people were there. The decision was made to cancel it. It was a group decision, of course. It wasn't done by the city, but that's neither here nor there. But it is a private organization, the MLK Committee, but I would encourage them to work with the city administration and Parks and Rec for next year to identify a rain date. I know we've got that for the Yuletide Parade. It does not exist, or it has not existed for the MLK Parade. So if the weather, once again, rears its ugly head and prevents us from having the MLK Parade, we could have an established rain date already so that we could take care of those issues. So it wouldn't just be canceled, it would be postponed. So I'm just putting that out there in the ether. I would encourage that, but regardless, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.